Today, we're going to speak to Miss Gem and Pixie. Miss Gem is a salacious, dominant, sadomasochistic polyamorist whose play philosophy and teaching styles are based with the ideology that scenes, play, and partnerships stem from consensually symbiotic involvement while engaged with partners. Gem has a diverse kink and BDSM community background that includes managing public kink play spaces, which I have been involved with. That's how I met Miss Gem. She has created and hosted over 100 kink and BDSM parties, facilitated discussion groups, and hosted munches and taught classes. She practices and teaches enthusiastic consent, mixed with open and honest communication as the basis to emotionally healthy scenes and relationships. And we're going to welcome Miss Gem and Pixie now. Hello there.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
Great. Are we still waiting for Pixie? I think the invite has been sent, but I had just read over your bio and introduced you to the show. And again, I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Congratulations on launching your blog, and there will be a link on the socials, but if any of you are interested in checking that out, you can see the link on the screen too if you're in the live stream. It's Kinkification education.blogspot.com. And we have Pixie here. Hello.
Hello. Hey, Pix.
Hi guys. I actually did not intend to have, I thought of inviting Pixie last minute after reading through your blog, and I do not have a bio for Pixie, but I'm glad to have you here.
She's happy to be here. Sorry.
She's a very mischievous girl who is incredibly wonderful and a beautiful addition to my life. And she will provide the blog with lots of crazy tales, like her getting locked in handcuffs.
Yes, I read the first initial story about, I think, a maybe frantic search for a key to get yourself out.
Yeah, it actually, that was about a 4-hour ordeal, just trying to find someone who had a key that would match, which ended up with my friends. Like I said, my friend had an unusual method. It didn't work. So basically the entire bar knew me that night as the girl who was stuck in handcuffs.
Would you consider this your first official maybe outing as a kinkster in that situation, being locked and in public?
I think they just thought I was a weird person, which is understandable.
Yes.
So,
correct me if I'm wrong. You two are a polyamorous couple.
Yes. Yeah.
we are.
How long have you guys been together?
Pix, do you want to go?
Oh, okay. I'm like, all right. We've actually been together just shy of 4 years. It'll be 4 years, January 25th.
Okay.
See, I can never come up with the date.
Nice. I have so many questions about polyamorous relationships and all sorts of other things. But first, I'd like to talk about what you guys have been doing since last time I saw you, because we had met at the San Francisco Citadel at an event they call the Meat Market.
Yes.
And I've been wanting to talk about the Meat Market for a long time. Initially, when I first went, we could not really discuss much of what went on the radio, and I think there was actually an initial apprehension to inviting us to the event and letting us discuss it on air.
Yeah, that's very true. Kinksters can be very private because there's a bit of a stigma to it still.
Yes.
It's getting more acceptable and more common. Things like 50 Shades of Grey, which in my personal opinion isn't a great representation, but it has made it more mainstream media, and so it's giving it a better acceptability to people, that this is something that it's okay to acknowledge that you do. And there's obviously varying degrees to kink, and I think most people in the world actually practice some form of kink without even realizing it.
I after, I don't know, lots of self-reflection, I'm a part of why I'm asking you here is I'm looking for guidance on, I don't know, the confusion I have about myself and my sexual, I would call it hypersexualness.
Yeah.
And trying to, I don't want to say cope with it because I'm not suffering, but I feel like I do not identify with how, or I can't relate to how sexual I am, or if that makes sense. I feel I originally wanted to say that like sexuality is not my identity, but at the same time I do not identify with my sexuality, if that makes sense. Or I'm trying to figure it out.
That makes perfect sense.
Okay.
And I think that's not uncommon for most kinksters, most people in general, but like that's something that a lot of us have spent many hours in the kink community, like discussing at like munches and different discussion groups, is like, why do we feel the way we do? Why do we like the things that we do? And there's some, psychological and scientific evidence for why we do. And there's some that's just like, it just feels good.
And that's a great indicator, just what you like feeling. I like what you said earlier. Some people do not even realize they have kinks, or
Yes.
So I was curious about what the difference is between fetishes, kinks, or a turn on. Are they different things?
Well, I mean, a turn on can encompass any of those things, or it can just be something else entirely. It's like, classic rock is a big turn on of mine. So that can just be a terminology that you use for something that you really enjoy, but that's something that like just gets you excited. So that can like be sexual or non-sexual. Kink
Okay.
is sort of a broad term for, all the different fetishes, BDSM, swinging can be a kink. There's all sorts of things that like the term kink is like one giant umbrella. And then, go ahead.
I think you were about to get to it. I think you were about to mention the fetish and where that
fetish is, yeah. So a fetish is something that you really fixate on that is very closely related to your sexuality. So like a foot fetish is a very common thing. So, and it's people that actually, the idea of feet in any way, just looking at feet or touching feet, sometimes kissing feet or whatever it is that they're into, that develops into a fetish. And so a fetish is something that's more like central to something you really, really want. Like I have a serious spanking fetish. I love to spank people and to be spanked. And it doesn't have to be in a sexual realm. I just really enjoy that concept, that there's so much to it. There's like the power dynamic of like putting somebody over your knee and giving them a gentle spanking, all consensual, of course.
Yes.
And, it's just something that I've always personally enjoyed. If I'm having a really bad day and I'm really emotional, if one of my partners will turn me over their knee and give me a little spanking, it can be really cathartic, and like all the emotions will flow and I will just feel so much better. And it may or may not lead to sex.
I would like to specify when she means partners, she
Yes.
is not referring to me. She's referring to her more dominant partners. I'm submissive. For me to do that, it actually puts me in a really uncomfortable position because I do service, obviously, but
By service, what do you mean? Participate? Or
well, I mean, there's participation, but for example, with Jem, if she has certain tasks she wants done, I will do them. I see it as my purpose is not only to be a good partner, a good friend, a cog in the wheel of her, but making sure that her life is easier as well. So if I'm staying the night, I'll ask her, do you want some tea? I know most of her routines. Hell, we'll be driving in a car. I know what drink she likes to drink in the car, and I always make sure to like open up her water bottles. Or I'm quiet, just feeling off her energy. Like, does she want to talk or does she not want to talk? I'm there to provide her with whatever she needs.
So this is service, and is this part of being a submissive? Or
in a degree,
there are
yes,
so many terms that I'm going to be asking and double checking and trying to.
There are lists upon lists upon lists, and whatever you could possibly should suggest, there's most likely a fetish or a kink for that.
Right.
There really is.
So like getting back to fetishes, Tally's biggest fetish is being of service. Now, she's a little pain slut and loves receiving pain, but service is like her huge fetish. So it's like, have you heard of like love languages?
We were going to get to that. Yeah. I was going to ask you. Yeah, yes. Because I took the test and tried to figure out what my love language is. But so
this will be great.
Where does the love language fit?
I teach love languages to in professional life, I do love language quizzes and tests and explanations with my teams.
Right.
And I also do them with friends and family. So I can definitely help explain some of that if you want.
Yes, for sure. I'm actually I don't know if I'm ever going to figure out the difference between the kinks and the fetishes. Does BDSM fit into the kink side?
Yeah, so BDSM is again another one of those big terms that encompasses a lot. And so if you were looking at, say, like a pyramid, like a food pyramid. So kink is like your base. It's the big broad term. So this is kinks. And then if you go up the pyramid, then you might have like BDSM. And so BDSM is bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, and then sadism and masochism. And I actually am going to be posting on that exact acronym next week. I have a whole article written on it already.
It's an amazing the acronym initialism, because a lot of people think it just stands for two things, but it's a really cool setup how they have it. It's three different categories or whatever, and I just love that the dynamic of it's the coolest 4 letters out there.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so going up that pyramid, so there'd be BDSM, and then like the next, once you narrow it down a little more, would be like fetishes, and then fetishes can play into BDSM. And so like fetishes would be a term that's like under the kink umbrella. BDSM would be under the kink umbrella. And then kink is just that big general term that, everything fits under.
I spent a bit of time looking at the BDSM world, and I know that I am not into bondage or dominance or dominance, submissiveness. I believe I'm switchy with that. That's me using that term for the first time. S&M, not I don't think I'm into that, but the first time I was spanked or whipped was from you, Miss Jem. And I didn't hate it, but I don't think it's something I will throw into my own personal practice.
It's not for everybody. And S&M can encompass both the physical and the mental realm of pain play, because we can cause emotional pain,
Yes.
And so some people really, really enjoy that. And we refer to that as like humiliation or degradation play.
Yeah, I feel like I get humiliated enough in my everyday life, and I don't think I want to take that to the bedroom. But I do know that I don't think I got any specific pleasure in experiencing or taking in the pain, but I liked laying there with a huge crowd around watching that happen.
Oh, that's an exhibitionist.
And yes, this is
the best place to do it is in a place like that.
A safe space, yes.
Yeah.
as far as the being switchy with the dominant submissiveness, I just recently realized that I like a hand here, like like manhandling my and everything. It's new to me because I had never really experienced that until recently, and I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. And it's because usually I am the dominant one, but it's not. But I never considered myself dominant because I don't think I was ever treating someone as a submissive, if that makes sense. It's just I take control, or I'm leading. I think that's how I
Yeah.
look at it.
It's not exactly when you treat someone as a submissive or you treat someone as a dominant. Sometimes it's just the energy. It's a more assertive energy to a more subservient energy, you know? So Jim and I could be at a dinner table with other friends in a regular setting, and she could just use a tone, or she could just have a certain energy about her, and automatically my head's going, okay, in my mind, I'm lower, not in a degradation sort of way, but more in my energy is lower. I'm going to revert to whatever she's saying. I'm going to listen to her. I'm a little bit more in tuned to what's going on around me, but specifically focused on her.
Could you liken it to a dance and just having someone lead?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you could definitely do that. I mean,
Yeah.
hell, dancing's a kink.
I love dancing.
There you go. You love
Right.
dancing?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So I feel like Miss Gem, I think you had listed as dominant leaning. So I think that's the same as me. I don't mean to dominate, and I don't have to. I wish someone else would more, and I guess it's switchy. And also with this, I think we mentioned FetLife earlier.
Yeah,
And
briefly.
there's a whole section in our profiles on FetLife where you can list your kinks or fetishes and varying degrees of your interest in it. You can mark if you're interested or I don't remember.
Curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people know and can gauge your level of interest. And
There's also soft limit and hard limits.
yes, could you explain that? What's a hard limit or soft limit in S&M?
Pix,
Well,
how about I take the soft limits? Because that's more complicated, and you can go for it with the hard limits.
okay. Do you want to go first or me then?
I can go first.
Okay.
So soft limit is it's something that you either wouldn't mind trying, but it has to be in a very like particular set of circumstances, or it requires a lot of trust to build up. It's something that it's like, this is a maybe. I'm not going to say that we can do this tonight. You know, we use terminologies like consent negotiations, and we teach new kinksters that come to the scene like how to negotiate with a partner. And so soft limits and hard limits are those terms that we use for like a soft limit is like, okay, this is something I'm curious about, something I'm interested in, but it's not something we're going to do tonight. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pix, you want to go ahead and talk about what a hard limit is?
Sure. So a hard limit is something that, regardless if it's going to be discussed at a later date or not, I mean, you can talk about it, but for you, it's a strong no. This is no negotiation. This will not happen. It's beyond your comfort zone. And if someone pushes it enough, often leads to some very serious disagreements and possibly, separation of relationships. So example is with soft limit, hard limit. My soft limit is face slapping. I will only allow certain people to slap my face. Jem is being one of them.
Right.
Hard limit is belts. I will not let anyone want to hit me, want to do impact across my ass, across my back, anything with a belt. As soon as someone brings a belt, sometimes belt-like objects out, I stop it right there. It's a no-go for me. there's no trying to negotiate or push me into a certain headspace, I draw the line from, and that's mainly from past trauma. So I know it will not be a positive experience, nor will it be an educational experience for me.
Is the negotiation of limits, do you always discuss that before a first encounter with a partner?
Oh yeah, always before a first encounter with a partner, and like Pix and I, we renegotiate all the time.
I assume that is ongoing. Yes.
Yeah, because it's really important when you're practicing BDSM or exploring kinks that some of these things can be inherently dangerous, like asphyxiation play, choking play.
Yeah.
Is like a big turn on for a lot of people, and it can be really dangerous. Somebody's like, you can tell somebody's like got their good button push right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that. In a few different ways. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, which is just grappling on the mat. It's like wrestling.
Yeah.
And being choked out and waking up is one of the most like peaceful, like strangely like serene experiences.
Absolutely.
And the idea of mixing that with an orgasm is intriguing.
It's very intense. It can take that orgasm to the whole next level.
Okay. Is that a fetish or a kink?
Yes.
That sounds like a fetish.
That would be a fetish. You're getting it.
All right, cool. Yeah, I was trying to make a game out of some of these. Great. Okay. Yeah, is that something that you guys include both ways, or yeah? Explain, Pixie. What can you tell me about asphyxiation?
Oh my goodness, it's it's almost hard to explain. So currently I have two partners in my life, Jen being one of them, and it's really funny. You don't need a whole lot of strength necessarily for asphyxiation play.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And with Jen, her hands are really tiny.
I have little girl hands,
like little doll hands, and it's so funny because people think it doesn't hurt or she doesn't have the power, but she does.
Mm-hmm. And
so regardless if it's like a small hand or a big hand, there's different ways that you can play. You can have it where it's pinching off blood.
Mm-hmm. Carotid arteries right here.
Exactly. And that's pretty intense. It's just a fun feeling of, you can kind of feel your body just letting go a little bit, maybe some small tingles. And as soon as you like break it off, everything comes clear. It's like, all right, that's great. I have a burst of energy, adrenaline. Let's go again.
It is, I'm not sure if it's the same for everyone, but from the people I've talked to, when you're like fading out and when you come back, there's the whoosh.
Yes.
And it's quite a feeling. I've also had that same feeling when maybe taking too big of a bong rip or something, and like I don't have air anymore and I'm recovering, and it's like
similar. And there is a form you could consider it part of asphyxiation play, is if you've ever gotten head from someone.
Mm-hmm.
And you push a little further, to go deeper, to get deep-throated.
I've never done that.
Okay, well, here, we'll explain.
I'm switching,
when
remember.
Well, if that happens and you're going further back in that person's throat, what happens is they can't breathe through that airway. And so they have to be able to trust you. And it can be another form of choking in a sense. Sometimes other stuff happens, but you do get that whoosh. So whenever, like if you watch porn, whenever someone pops off the dick and are gasping for breath.
Yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah. That is more common for most people than choking out.
Huh. Wow. I like the aspect of like trust play. There's like an added element of fun there. And trust is Is that a kink or a turn on?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Perfect.
I
Yeah.
trust Jim with my life anytime we play, because we do like some extreme items, and she knows what she's made me cry just by having me stand there and closing my eyes. I was just like this and full on tears, bawling, and she was surprised of herself, but
Oh, okay.
I
I'm
was
glad that's
incredibly elated. Oh my God, when I got her to cry just by, I think I was saying something and it was really stern and I was actually half joking, but she'd been like, you know, really kind of bratty that night and pushing my limits. And so I just sort of laid down the law and I gave her this stern look, and in the back of my head, I'm like, you know, and she just starts like tearing up and bawling. And I was like, yes, the power.
does this ever happen where, say, Pixie, you like to be dominated? What if, Jem, what if you did not like to dominate? Will there still be, partners who will perform your kink for you, but not, even though it's not your thing?
Well, I think that's where the polyamory comes into play. If something's not, Pixie and I are really well suited, but I have had, and I don't know that I have other partners at the moment, but I have had partners in the past where, like one of my many titles is I'm a sadist or a sadomasochist. So I love pain play exchange, whether it's light pain play, just like a really light, like little tiny bit of pain, or whether it's really intense. And so that's probably where because I've met submissives who are not masochists. And so when I've played with them, they don't necessarily want any pain. It's all about mental control and mental domination. And so that's the beautiful thing about polyamory, is that, you know, I can go and find a different partner that sort of fulfills that need and that niche for me. Yeah. So does that answer your question, or was your question something different?
No, I was just like wondering, like what you would do if, I guess that's where polyamory is like a very useful thing. Like you're free to, like, you don't want to do that. Free to find that somewhere else.
Yeah.
Is that have you guys been in polyamorous relationships before meeting each other?
Yeah, I've been poly for a decade now,
Okay.
and I've had a couple of boyfriends, a couple of girlfriends. So Pixie she came along right as I was ending with another girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
and we took it really, really slow. And I was just really honest with her, like, I'm just getting out of this relationship, and even though I'm poly, I'm not quite ready to like jump into anything else. And it really helped us build this like wonderful friendship. And then we just slowly started evolving into more of a DS dynamic and relationship. And it's funny because we don't necessarily identify as romantic partners, but there's something very like deeply committed and loving about what Pix and I have. It's very honest and respectful and communicative, and it transcends romance because it's so healthy. Yeah.
I am kind of baffled right now. Okay. Not romantic, but even past that, transcending. Okay. What are examples of you guys not being or considering yourselves a romantic partnership or couple?
Well, you know, we don't kiss and make out on a regular basis. We have kissed and we have made out, but it's not like our regular daily thing. For us, it's like spanking,
Yeah.
you know?
Nails, pinches me, pokes. Poking? She's gotten our extended group to start poking me. I mean, they asked permission, but
Right.
still.
I was very interested in like polyamory, or is swinging necessarily the same thing, or like,
So
what would you consider
swinging
that different?
can be polyamorous, or it can just be an open relationship. And some of them even call it just general fuckery. And what that kind of is just, it's just swinging it. Polyamorous is about you and your partner have consented, you and your primary partner have consented to have other relationships that may or may not have love and romance involved in them. Just an open relationship is just two people that have decided they're going to play with other people. And there might be a limit there on whether or not they can be, romantic or deeply connected. It may be they can only play with somebody once or twice before they have to cut it off. Like it has to be like an anonymous encounter or something like that.
Or together. Sometimes they can't play with another person or have sex with that other person unless they bring them in and it's 2 and 1.
Sharing.
Yeah.
And then you also have to think sometimes polyamory isn't just when you have a primary partner, in a typical, what we see as a typical duo. And then you talk about it and you go off and find your other people who work well with you. Sometimes if you're people who don't follow hierarchical polyamory and do not have a primary, but rather use like solo poly, I am my own person. So
Poly.
I try to make sure that my relationships are balanced. I give equal enough time to Jem. I make sure that either I'm talking on the phone, I'm with her. She has my focus. She has my attention. And if I'm with my other partner, because right now I only have 2, just COVID, that's why. But right now with my other partner, I make sure to do the same. That when I'm with them, I am only with them. I'm making sure to give them my full focus and attention because I want to balance my relationship so one person doesn't feel like I'm favoring over the other, which can happen in open relationships.
I think that happens in just like vanilla relationships. There, you're talking to this person. Why? I think from what I've heard or read, because I looked into polyamory when I was trying to figure out if it was for me, and I believe like what would be a challenge or problem for me is insecurity in a partner of mine maybe liking someone else more than me, and that's really fine. It's up to me to can I be okay with that or not? Am I it's fine if other people are attracted to this or that. That's life, and can I handle that? And can I just not make me feel less? It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, that is a super, super common concern of polyamorous people. And it's one of the many things that people can struggle with. It is something that can be overcome. There's a lot of things that we as humans, if we choose to make a decision to overcome it, we can. It's whether or not you want to, you don't necessarily have to. And if you're monogamous, that's one of those things that you don't have to, overcome. You can say, you know what? I know this is my weakness and I'm just not ready to confront it. And I don't want to share, in my polyamory struggles is I'm possessive. And I didn't like the fact that I was possessive when I was monogamous. And so it's one of those things that over the last decade, I've learned to let go of that possessiveness. And once in a while it rears its head and goes, no, that's my person. And then I'm like, no, I love this person so much that I want them to be free to explore with other people what they need to explore with. Because as people, it's kind of unhealthy to think that we can be everything for just one person.
For sure, yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I would want to be expected to be the one and only everything for someone. I think recently I've been thinking about what is I don't have a type. People ask me what's your type? And the people I've been interested in have kind of been all over the place, and there's no real pattern except for I'm very attracted to someone who I feel doesn't need me, and they could be fine without me, and it's like a turn on knowing that they choose to like spend time with me, knowing like there's probably like a whole world of other things they could be doing, and like, wow, I feel special, like they picked me.
Yeah.
But I have been discussing, I don't know, relationships and sex recently a lot, actually, and someone threw the idea at me that I might be demisexual. Demisexual, and I don't. And could you, one of you, explain what that is
Absolutely.
more accurately
Yeah.
than me, probably?
Absolutely. So demisexual is a sexuality that's based on the asexual spectrum, because there are those of us in this world that sex doesn't do anything for us, and that makes them asexual. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's a very basic terminology and basic definition of what asexual is. Demisexual is someone who their sexuality or their sexual attraction grows the longer they know somebody. Like they might meet somebody and be like, yeah, they're cool, but I'm not really attracted to them. Or they might have a hard time being attracted to people in the beginning. Like they don't see somebody like, man, that person is hot, I need to get with them. They're more like, you know, hey, that person was cool, I think I want to hang out with them. But I don't know that I'm attracted to them. And then the longer they get to know them, the more that they're intellectually stimulated by that person, the more sexual they feel about them, or the more romantic they feel about them. So demisexual is really about it's different from people who are hypersexual, who, you know, they see 10 people in a room and they want to get with 8 of them. And that's, you know, a whole nother thing, which is totally fine too. But demisexual is, it has to be more personal. I need more time to get to know somebody. I need to be intellectually stimulated by them, or I need to be, they need to be funny, or they need to be sweet. You know, there's something that it's about their personality that has to come out more, and that you have to be more comfortable with, that you find attractive.
When you phrase it with the intellectuality, I don't know if that's a word.
It is.
It reminds me of, thanks for the
I use it.
that's fine. Good. It sounded like a good word. The idea came through. Sapiosexual. I thought that was, from my understanding, that was an attraction to intelligence.
Yes, you got it right. Sapiosexual is an attraction to intelligence. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not already physically attracted to them, but it means that the more that your partner rings your intellectual bell, the more you want to just get it on.
Okay. I can actually, Twinkie, the best way I understood it was, let's say we all have friends. I hope.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I hope we don't push any buttons there.
But I hope.
I hope everyone has friends.
Friends are nice. You have that person you've met maybe in your past, and the more you hung out with them, the more you were like, I don't really like their personality as much, their humor as much. And in your mind, you may have thought, oh, they were attractive beforehand. And then the more you got to know them and got to experience like their personality and their style and everything, the less and less you wanted to spend with them. You were attracted to them. You even wanted to like interact with them, right?
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
For sure.
So it's reversed for Demi. So the more you spend with them, the more that the attraction could increase.
Yeah. That's why I figured that it felt like there was a lot of overlap between these two.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe it's a spectrum. It's like one side. Okay. I feel like a lot of people, I think that's like everyone. The more time you spend and the longer you know someone, just the more you know about them, and that's more info to decide what you feel about them.
Yeah. I completely agree with that.
The definition that was given to me about demisexual was that you just don't enjoy sexual relations with someone that you don't love. And is that still, would you say that's
I think
uh,
that's more of
part of.
gosh, I'm groping for a term here.
Did you
But
say
that's a
groping for?
more, I am groping for a
I
term.
like that. Yeah.
I
I
feel
like
like
to
that's
grope.
more of a heteronormative explanation because
Ooh.
most of the time, people's idea of love is the combination of romantic and sexual.
Yeah.
And so it confuses them when you're like, I'm in love with my best friend. I'm not romantically in love with my best friend. I don't, I don't want to have sex with her all the time. If it's a her, sex with
Hmm.
her all the time. But I know this is someone who, regardless of distance, of time, of years, of experiences, this is someone who's going to be connected to me forever, and I want to have them next to me. So there's different types of love, different degree of love. And so I feel like when people say, well, demisexual is actually just someone who has to love someone first. It's all about percentage wise, I think.
Absolutely. And love is one of those romantic
Percentage wise.
terms, and so there's a whole scale of if somebody is romantic or not, because just like there's asexuals, there's aromantics. And aromantics are somebody who's not necessarily into the trappings of romance. It doesn't mean they can't love. It just means that they're not, they're not somebody who's drawn to that kind of stuff. I'm on the aromantic scale. Like I'm hypersexual, but aromantic. So like for me, sex and intellectualism is very much when I like the more I engage sexually and intellectually with somebody, the more I fall in love with them. But I'm not necessarily somebody who is, looking for the fairy tale, the Prince Charming, and the trappings of romance. Usually for me, I sort of like, I look at that and I'm like, is this person like, trying to sell me on themselves?
Hmm.
But it can be a genuine thing that there are people out there that love to express themselves in a romantic, passionate way,
Like
and
It
gifts.
or
feels good.
a way that's passionate with romance versus a way that's passionate with sex.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know that it feels really good to say sweet things, to say I love you, and to express that to someone.
Sweet
yeah,
things and endearments.
And that's, I think, happening a lot during COVID too, if people are adhering to the social distancing and everything.
absolutely.
Well, that ties back to the love languages that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Because there's 5 love languages, and
Yeah,
one
can
of
we list
them,
those? Yeah.
yes. So it's physical touch,
Hmm.
words of affirmation, like kind words. There's acts of service,
Yep.
quality time,
Hmm.
and gifts.
Yeah.
So, for example, my love languages are tied for words of affirmation and physical touch.
Okay.
So I need those when I'm feeling super down, or just for me to fully understand someone else's emotions.
Hmm.
That's what I connect with on a higher plane.
How about the difference between receiving or giving these 5 categories? Because um I'll say that when I took a test, my top 2 love languages were acts of service and quality time.
Okay.
Physical touch was the lowest, but I love physical touch. I love a hug. I am a massage therapist. I'm a professional toucher.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoy performing massage and receiving, I like to make people feel good. Um, and knowing how much I do like that, it did kind of confuse me seeing that as my lowest love language.
So my theory on that is that your lowest doesn't necessarily mean you hate it. It's just it's I see it as how you give. So you enjoy receiving the top 2, and the bottom 2 tend to be, in my experience, how you give. Like my lowest 2 were gifts and acts of service. And my main thing, Jim will tell you, I'll come out, I'm like, I have this like whole bag of stuff for you. What the hell?
I relate to you with that too. I love giving people things. I don't care if anyone gives me anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's the case though, is that most people just assume that if it's low, then it's not even something they should consider. But I think it's just how you prefer to show to others that aren't yourself.
And see, for me, my top love language is acts of service. So like that's where Pix and I really like link up, because she loves doing acts of service. I love receiving acts of service, because for me, like actions speak louder than words. And when somebody is like doing something for me, just getting me a glass of water is like the best way for my partner to say I love you, versus, you know, actually like giving me a rose. Not that I don't like flowers. I have a partner that gives me flowers and I adore it. But, you know, for me, I find, you know, a partner giving me a glass of water when they think I need it is more touching. It's more like they're worried about my health and my well-being. It speaks so loudly to me.
I've had that feeling as well. Same simple thing. Being given water really touched me. And because the way I took it is, this person's thinking about me and they're taking care of me. And I know, like when I do it, it's like I want to provide, I want to make your life easier. I want to do this for you, and it feels good. It feels good to give water. It feels good to have someone give you water.
Absolutely. Water is the new red rose.
All right, yeah. Water is sexy.
Just don't dye
guys.
Because if you spill it, that's going to be hell to clean up.
There was a game I was gonna, you know, try to tap into my old like morning show roots and make a game out of the fetishes that you and I, Jem, have listed on our profiles. It didn't work out because when I was looking at yours, I was scrolling for forever, and I would not know where to start with that. So I was going to make a list of find the kinks that we don't have in common and just list them and see, like,
that's a lot.
Winky or Jem, sorry. But yeah, you have pages. Like I was scrolling for forever.
That doesn't even encompass all of them, to be fair.
No, there's some that you don't even post because, well, let's face it, the profiles are public, so someone's going to see it and someone's going to message. So sometimes you just want to keep it quiet, because even kinksters have an even darker side that they don't want others to see at any point until they're ready.
That's true. If you think about, you see someone and see what they are putting on display, you have to wonder what they're not wanting to show immediately to everyone.
Absolutely. And you know, some things like, so like one of my big fetishes that I absolutely love, and I'm sure this will not come as a surprise being a femdom, is I love strap-on play. I love pegging and I love strap-on play. I just find it amazing. And I actually don't put it on my profile.
You know, if you did, you would get a lot of messages. Because I think
a lot of internet trolls.
I think is it more trolls than genuine curiosity?
Be paste.
That is a waste of time. Everyone's time.
If it is genuine curiosity, it comes off so disrespectful that I'm just like, delete. And I'm somebody who, like, if somebody messages me and it's a respectful message, I definitely try to get back to them, because I don't believe, I think so many, and this can be a bit, I don't like going into gender norms, but this can be a bit of a gender norm. I feel like men often put more messaging effort out there, and women tend to just wait to receive the messages. And again, this is kind of a generalization, but I do find it tends to be that way. I get a lot of men if I find somebody's profile that I really like and I think it's really intelligent and respectful, I'll reach out and be like, hey, I really enjoyed reading about you. I'd like to get to know you more, or something like that. And 9 times out of 10, the man will go, wow, I've never received a message from a woman before unsolicited. You know, or I even had somebody like, are you a catfish?
Yeah, it's easy to think that. In my experience, most of the people who I actually get a back and forth with, it's it's either someone that's not real or in my experience, it's usually the people who do reach out to me, the far and few between. It's someone that I'm just not interested in back.
Yeah.
But it's rare that I am the receiver of a message. I am the chaser. And I think this is an example of why safe sexual communities are really important. The idea of I really enjoy some good butt play, but I don't really know where to start in that.
I giggle at everything.
Yeah.
Butt play is the best.
It really is. And I feel like it's not the easiest thing to just bring up.
No.
Not the easiest thing to bring up.
Pix is I almost said a porn queen, a pun queen.
Okay. Like I think between age 19 and 25 or 26, the phrase I said the most was "that's what she said," and you can say that like a million times a day. There's so many.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like the more creative you are, you can fit that anywhere, and that's what she said there. You mentioned being interested in someone just reading their profile, and Pixie, you mentioned in your blog post, the first one, erotic literature. That was one of my first forms of like just erotic material. And living in a home with people who know how to use computers more than I do, I couldn't risk too much of like the typical stereotypical porn. I would find a lot of cool stuff to read, and still to this day, that's some of the best material that I turn to sometimes.
Absolutely.
The most erotic piece of your body, the most erotic part of your body is your mind, because you're not viewing what someone else dreamed up. It's what your brain is dreaming up. And I went down that path because, I mean, if you saw my bio, I grew up in a very conservative household. I mean, my mom would literally search my room.
Wow.
She would go through my items, my things. And so one time, like I was actually banned from the library. I could bike there. She took my bike. She's like, you can't go. I'd come back. She would frisk me. I got into a habit of stuffing the books like in my waistband or like in my socks just to try to bring them. And after a while, even in high school, I had to swap books with, my best friend that I've known for 15 years now. We would swap books because her mom was completely free and open. Do what you want.
Did you read a lot of those books with like Fabio on the cover, like no, like novel?
I did.
Okay.
Fabio is not the thing for me.
Right.
I mean, he's not the thing for me, but I read a lot of those books when I was about 13, 14.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to date myself here. I'm 46. And so in the late 80s and the early 90s, we didn't have internet access to literotica and that sort of thing. And so
that's the site. Yes.
Right? Love that site.
The one place you can actually be the deviant, dirty person you are.
Right? Yeah. So I would, my mom always had romance novels around the house. So I would pick them up. I would search through them and I would find the sex scene. And I would just like read it over and over and over again, to the point that like nowadays so many novels, like I love urban fantasy, and urban fantasy has a lot of sex scenes in it. And I literally get to the sex scene and I'm like, it's vanilla sex, skip over it.
Urban fantasy.
Yeah.
I'm not against vanilla sex. It's probably what I've had the most, but I think reading vanilla sex that's still good enough for me. It depends on what the scene is, the scenario. Yeah, it depends on the context.
It really does depend. I mean, I used to read Harlequin romance, so like the little thin books.
Yeah.
Because you can, do you know how many of those you can stuff in your waistband without it actually being obvious?
Yeah.
I mean, and when I could buy books, but I'm going to date myself a little bit, but when Borders was a thing, they had it. Yeah, right. They had a deal where you could fill up a bag if you buy one of their bags, and whatever you fill it up, you only had to pay the price of the bag. I'm really good at Tetris. So I would buy all these like Harlequin books and everything. And what I would do for the sex scenes is I'm a bibliophile, so I'm a huge book lover. And the fact that I would do this killed me. Yeah, Jim too. And she scolded me for this. At the very bottom, I would fold the corner at the beginning of the sex scene so that later I could flip back and read it.
I have a fetish for flat pages in my books.
So and I would go to used bookstores and I'd swap out my books. Like I'd sell some back and I get store credit and get others. You can pull off a book you think would be mine. If you look at the top, it's clean. You look at the bottom, it's like every other page is turned.
I wouldn't have thought to do it on the bottom. Was it to hide that that's what you were doing, or?
Oh, my thing was trying to find books with the most nonchalant cover.
Right.
But had no Fabio, nothing sexual on it. Didn't say romance along the sides. But yeah, a lot of my friends would pick up a book and turn and go, oh, wow, that's a lot of sex scenes. Let's read this.
What is the problem with 50 Shades of Grey? I don't know. I have never read it. But I know kinksters will look down on that.
I think the biggest issue with 50 Shades of Grey is just the lack of consent that goes on in it. In the movie, they tried to put in some consent with the contract negotiation, and contract negotiations do happen, but they're sort of a lesser thing.
That's more for intense relationships.
Yeah,
like more
like full-time 24/7 master-slave dynamics. You know.
I would want some kind of contract and something like that. I want some protection.
Yeah.
In the movie, it's a little bit inconsistent because they start with flogging the girl, Anastasia. They start with flogging her on her front, which is the most vulnerable spot that you could start for someone who's completely new.
So was this written by someone who was not even involved in kink life?
You know, she stated, I think in a few interviews, that she explored kink, but it was to a much more minor degree than what she originally said. I'm not I don't have a lot of information on it, but that was my understanding, and my take is that she explored it just enough to be dangerous, basically. She didn't quite have enough of a consent culture background. And that's one of the things that you find with community kinksters versus bedroom kinksters is, unless your bedroom kinkster has really educated themselves well, a community kinkster, when you go into a community, it's something that you hear about in munches and play spaces and classes. We all talk about how important consent is, because some of these things that we're doing are inherently dangerous and you can hurt somebody severely. And that's why we advocate to, educate yourself. There are classes out there. This is one of the funny things. I have a funny dating story after I explain this, but there are so many classes out there on like we were talking about asphyxiation play, like how to choke somebody without causing brain damage or killing them.
Yeah, I want to teach that. Like, I've got years of choking experience, and it's not something to just mess around with. Like,
that'd be a highly coveted class.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Wow.
Candle play, like wax play.
Yeah.
Wax play, there's not a whole lot of pain in wax play. It's just heat and sensation. It's a very mild form of play. But again, it's another thing that if you don't know what you're doing, if you aren't using the right wax, if you're not using the right height to drip the wax, that sort of thing, you can cause some damage. Like, at bare minimum, you can get some skin blisters, and eventually, or not eventually, but you can end up getting some like 3rd-degree burns or something along those lines. So, there's things that we're doing that we want to practice them at. Nothing is safe, but we want to practice them as safely as possible.
And that's just a light kink. That the fetish that she's talking about is wax play. I mean, you're talking about There's fire play, needle play, blood play. There's hooking, like flesh hooks, like knife play. Some of them are super extreme. Even psychological play that you could do could mess with someone's mind enough. Like Jim has the power to legitimately make me burst into tears. I mean, usually when I'm on the phone or like with her, I don't know about Zoom, but let's not test that out. But she could make me burst into tears and feel absolutely like shit just by saying she's disappointed in me, because we've done so much psychological play at some points. I mean, I'm terrified of
and
teasers.
so that's a term that has only gotten used in a non-kink situation where something has happened that, you know, it's like, you know, it's never used in an angry moment. It's never used. And I think I've only said it to you like maybe twice in our entire relationship, you know, and you know, it's because there's so much power in words, you know, that, you know, it can create this sort of, you know, psychological damage. And so that's why, you know, you have to be careful with all these things. And, you know, even negotiating like what you can say in the bedroom, you know, can I say, I want to spank your ass, you know, because maybe there's something about the term ass or the term spank that, you know, triggers somebody back to, you know, childhood abuse or something along those lines, you know. So it's really, really important to talk about these things with your potential play partner.
And there's a level of trust. That's what most people don't really realize, that we submissives, dominants, switches, we are trusting that other person or persons, because you can play in a group, that whatever they're doing to us, they know what they're doing. And whatever we're receiving, they need to be able to trust us that we're not going to turn around and accuse them of something they haven't done.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's okay.
I think you just blew Twinkie's mind.
A little bit.
So I've had a lot of one-time encounters with people I barely knew. And it took me a while to realize this, but they were very, very unsatisfying. I don't know. They were probably not all for the same reasons, but there's part of it's like I don't know anything about this person. So like, there's nothing to, like I mentioned earlier, like I know this person, if I know this person has like other things to do and they're choosing to spend their time with me, like that's a turn on. But like that aspect is gone with a stranger, because I don't know their life. I don't know if like this is like the highlight of their life or their year. A lot of like unsatisfactory sexual encounters with like beautiful people and fun people doing fun things. This is leading to the term aftercare. Can you explain what aftercare really is to me? Because that's just a term I read a lot.
So aftercare, when we're playing with various kinks and fetishes, these things, it goes again back to the fact that you're stimulating the brain as well as the body. And depending on what kind of play, if you're including pain play and that sort of thing, you're stimulating a lot of hormones in your body that that we stimulate that like pregnant women have flowing through their body. You've heard the term oxytocin.
Yeah.
And then joggers. Have you, like when joggers like jog to hit that endorphin rush?
Yeah.
You know,
the runner's
so these
high.
are runner's high. Yeah. So there is subspace, which is essentially like runner's high. And yeah, subspace is like when a submissive is bottoming to their top, their dominant, and they reach this sort of euphoric floaty space, which can be like if you've had a lot of alcohol, you can feel drunk, or
Slap happy.
I have to admit, I'm a square in the drugs department. I've never taken drugs, so I've heard that it can be like high, like getting high. So, but it's a natural high based on oxytocin, endorphins, adrenaline. I think there's a few others in there, and it's causing your body to just be flooded with these these natural chemicals. And so when you're coming out of play space, You could be shaking, you could be trembling, you can be sweating, you can like have the what's the term I'm looking for, Tal? Clammy, yeah. It can be clammy. And so aftercare is about, and tops dominants can get this too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little, not as intense, but it can, I'm starting to stumble over myself here. Let me back up for a second.
That's okay.
So aftercare is all about the dom and the sub caring for each other. It's equivalent of cuddles and vanilla sex.
Yeah.
But it can include food. It can include water. It's basically just a period of time to like come back down to a normal place. There are some people that their aftercare is no aftercare. Like they reach a level of where they're so stimulated, they don't want to be touched, but maybe they want to sit at the dom's feet and talk. You know, maybe they need like 15, 20 minutes of like being by themselves and then coming back together. So aftercare is going back to consent negotiations. It's something that we negotiate because it's all about your after scene, your after playtime, your after sex period of, you know, leveling out and being able to, in a healthy way, come back down to being normal and feeling normal.
I think it's
as normal as that can be.
I imagine there are couples or I don't know, sexual partners in both like vanilla or kink and fetish life that like it could go both ways. Aftercare is just really just how you interact with that person, that partner after having sex, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I've had countless experiences where there was just no aftercare. It's just like, thanks.
Yeah.
Till next time, maybe, or see you later. And
Yeah.
no matter how good the experience was during it, if like the lack of aftercare kind of ruins all of it, I think.
It's a sour
Absolutely.
taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's equivalent to when you're done seeing someone, like if you're having sex with someone and they go, oh man, while looking at your phone, you obviously know that's an out and they want you to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they want to leave, whichever it goes.
Yeah. I have a story of a guy that I was seeing. We'll call him Mr. X. And we had 3 dates before we got sexual. And he was exploring becoming a dominant. He wasn't a dominant. And I was just testing out whether or not I wanted to be submissive with him. And so we did some throat fucking scenes, which are fantastic. So big on that. And so we'd done it twice and it was great and it felt wonderful. And we had these really nice aftercare sessions. And then, you know, I came over one night late and we did a really super intense scene and I let him go a little further than I had before. And we included some S&M play. And I was in a really like, you know, euphoric place to the point that I was like trembling. And he literally leaves me on the couch. He's like, okay, I'm going to bed. And I was sitting there going like, what just happened? Like, what just happened? And so I got up and I got dressed and I left. I was like, okay, I'm done with this guy. He clearly does not understand the concept of aftercare. I thought he had. And so he ends up like in a couple hours texting me. It's like, why didn't you come to bed? Like, you know, he thought in his Dom headspace that he could just like do things like that. And it's like, no, you have to take care of your submissive, you know, and not having that aftercare, it's just like, you know, having a one night stand and somebody's like, okay, I'm done, I'm going to go home. And there's no cuddling, you know, because even when you're having just regular sex, you're still playing with those same hormones on a mild level. And that cuddling, that just coming down and spending time with each other, or even just sitting there talking is basically what we need as humans to like stabilize out, but also to like, you know, connect and reaffirm that this connection, you know, is more than just that, you know, intensity of play.
How about okay, you mentioned when you say scenes, that's just, would you consider that just a term of like when you at the Citadel, when you had me on the table and you gave me you use your all sorts of different what do you call it, toys?
Toys, yeah.
Was that a scene?
That was a scene. It was a mini scene, but it was a scene.
It was a mini scene. Oh,
A
it was
scene is
quick,
when
right?
A scene is the negotiation, the actions, and then the aftercare. So it's the middle, it's the beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
So that's considered a scene because it's a pocket of time.
There's a start and an end, and
yeah,
in the middle. Yeah, there's different actions. Like if you're in a DS relationship, like I am with Jem, there's play scenes, and some people will refer to scenes as playing. But when you're in a DS relationship, play is all the time. Because it is
if that's negotiated.
If it's negotiated. Sorry, I should paraphrase that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's based on the dynamic of that relationship. Because DS and MS type relationships tend to be a little bit more involved than just the actions of playing. If that makes sense.
More involved.
So a good way to think of it is breaking it down into like, if you're going on a third or fourth date with somebody who you're pretty sure it's going to go to the bedroom, you guys start making out. That's sort of like the equivalent of the negotiation period. And then you have sex, and then you have cuddling. So then you've got so that would be your scene. It's just, we don't have a term for it when it comes to vanilla stuff. Dating or having sex is our term for it. And so a scene is that same equivalent. It's, you know, instead of making out, I mean, we may still make out, but it's going to be like, we're going to talk about the things that we want to do together. You know, what's okay, what's not okay, our limits, you know, and then we're going to do it.
Wow.
And then after we do it, we're going to have our cuddle, which is the aftercare time.
Yeah. So like,
and it changes all the time. It's not the same.
Yeah. You'll have this scene, you'll have that scene. Like, what do you want for our scene today? Kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That, I don't think that ever happens in like kink relationships. Like you just kind of do it in improv and like see what happens at the end.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah. So like with Pixie and I, if we want to play or we want to have a scene, we'll sit down and I'll be like, so how are you feeling today? And she might say, you know, I had a really rough day at work, so I don't think I can handle too much pain play. Or she might be like, I had a really rough day at work. I want really intense pain play, but I don't want any humiliation play, you know? And so, and like, that's why I say, even in a DS relationship, we negotiate before every scene. And at the end of each scene, we try to have like a mini decompression meeting of like, hey, I bought this new cane. How did that new cane feel on you? And she'll be like, oh my God, I loved it. I want you to use it every time. Or she might be like, it was really intense. I don't ever want to see that thing again.
That is, I think, required. The went over reflecting on the damn scene. Like what worked, what didn't, what are we going to do? What are we doing going forward?
Right. Can you imagine how much better vanilla sex would be if, you know, afterwards somebody could frankly say, you know, you have a bend in your cock that goes this way, and it doesn't feel really good if we're doing missionary, but if you flip me over and we're doing doggy style, I'm coming like a rocket. Wouldn't you like always be like, okay, flip over, you know?
For sure. That's
less ghosting, that's for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine. I know there's countless couples or partners or whatever doing their thing together, and no good discussion like this about it before or after, during the there's a lot of bad sex happening.
Absolutely. Life is too short to have bad sex.
Oh,
You know?
very short. Especially
That's why I always tell
COVID.
people, talk to your partner. Like if you're kinky
Yeah.
or you're vanilla, you know, or you don't like to have sex and it's just about making out, talk to your partner and tell them what you like so that you can enjoy that moment. Find out what they like so that you can give it back.
And I gotta say, like, just being able, when we, even before we have our scenes, we're not just talking with how you're emotionally feeling. We do a checklist of emotional, mental, two different things, people, and then physical. How are you feeling? What's sensitive? What don't you want to like touch?
Yes.
How are you feeling? Sore? Okay. Do you have everything? Do you have your water? Do you have you stretched? You know, we're preparing because it's going to be intense. Everything that we're checking off is everything that's going to be hit. Well, not like literally hit, but figuratively, it's everything that's going to happen.
Yeah. And you know, some people can do that in their negotiations. They'll be like, it can be super simple. It doesn't have to be a long negotiation. It can literally be, Pixie can say to me, she's like, I've had, you know, a really hard day. You know what I like. My body feels good. My emotions don't feel great, but I want to cry for you. And she has told me this, I want to cry for you.
Oh my
and I'll
God.
be like, woohoo! I am pulling out all the stops, you know, and you know, and so it can be super simple. But also that's with somebody who I know really well, and we've already worked out all those little bugs of like, you know, where I can touch, where I can hit, where I can, you know, stroke, where I can pinch, that sort of thing, you know. So you know, once you like really know your partner's body, you can do so much. Like two of the vanilla things that I've always heard with sex partners is with men. I've always heard like, she doesn't grab my cock hard enough, you know, or she doesn't like, you know, really give it a firm enough grip. And with women, I've heard like, he doesn't use his fingers inside me. Like he plays with my clit, but he never like slips them inside me, and that feels so good. And so like just those like basics kind of thing, like of how you touch somebody and how you like to be touched, can be such a game changer in your sex life and your kink life.
Yeah, I don't see how you wouldn't. No, I guess I just can't imagine. It's everyone's different. There's a million different ways for people to think, but I think the main point, the goal for me is to please someone else, because I can get off by myself. I'm here for like the experience with another person. I feel like a lot of people are, you know, I guess the easiest way to say it is just selfish. Like, here's a person I'm gonna get off, and we're done whenever I'm done.
Well, you also have to think it's how they're raised. So you might laugh at this, but one of my theses in school and college was actually about sex in the 1940s and 50s and how that translates to nowadays, to modern times. Yeah, my professor didn't really like my thesis very much. Yeah, but it was mainly, so in the 1940s and 50s, this time when if you are in your 30s currently, means your parents or 30s and 40s, your parents had just been born. So they're being raised by an even older generation, which was always, sex was in marriage, was in the bedroom. And in the 40s and 50s, sex was in the bedroom. And whatever happened in the bedroom between the social norm of social norm of husband and wife, that happened. No one can touch that. You know, it wasn't until later that sex got to be that it became a little bit more widely talked about. You're talking about 60s and 70s, you know, and then going on from that, it's just evolved more and more. The history of sex and kink kind of intertwined at one point, because it really is just people discussing and experimenting and trying more with different aspects, either different toys, different situations, different locations, different people, others who are understanding this process and are wanting to explore just as well. It's primarily a group of learners engaging.
It's making me think of that. I think it was a scientist or a teacher or something. Was it Kinsey? Is that?
Don't even talk about him.
What's?
Don't,
But
no.
I think
No.
this is what we need.
I think you might have hit a hard limit there.
Yeah. I know he's
Kinsey,
controversial.
He's very controversial because he was one of the main people I had to read. He was very controversial because of some of his work was racist, and I don't really want to bring in a political standpoint or anything like that at this point.
Don't feel like you need to,
Yeah, so a lot of he was more detailed around males than, around men than women. And from my reading of his research, it almost felt like he was saying men were more evolved, which pisses me off a little bit because I don't know. I like to think I'm a woman.
All I have to base my knowledge on him is the Hollywood film. So that's not the accurate like what really happened and what was studied, and a different narrative there.
Well, plus it was years. He did like 4 or 5 different there's tombs. I'm saying tombs because the books are like that thick.
Right.
And there are different sections of years, but it's not entirely accurate. You know, it's not like you can do a blind study and I'm not great on science, so please don't quote me. It's blind and
like
placebo?
double blind tests and there's all sorts of
blind test and placebo.
Yeah, so it wasn't like that at all, and
so isn't like the results of what he concluded also controversial? Like you can say it's
very.
Like, he's maybe trying to push an agenda, and he's a scientist, so people will listen to him. But I don't know, maybe he just had ideas he wanted to put out there.
Well, it was perceived at the very beginning that the thought behind his study was really because he just wanted to have kinky sex with others.
I get it. Like a genius scientist there. Like, hey, let's have sex studies. This will be fun. We'll figure out what the data and what our thesis and what we're trying to conclude after this. You can always retroactively write your thesis.
Maybe
your
he just had
hypothesis.
a voyeur fetish, and he just wanted to watch all these people having sex and have a reason for it.
Or a student teacher fetish.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, who can argue with a student teacher fetish? That's pretty fun.
Taboo
Between
things.
consenting adults.
Yes.
Adults. Legal. Over 18.
Or just role play it if you don't want to be that risky and risk your career or your education.
Oh, role play's the best.
Yeah.
That goes back to your brain just being the
sex organ.
I would say I'm trying to I'm groping for terms. The best sex organ in the body is really the brain. The more you can stimulate the brain and role play, that definitely scratches that niche. So
can I read to you? I really wanted to make that game work earlier, but can I read to you what I do have listed as like curious about or into on
absolutely, please do, yeah.
Because I'm not active on FetLife much these days, and so when I look at my profile, one, I'm surprised that I have these pictures on because these are really public. Like all you have to do is make an account, and it's all there. And I don't care that they're up there. I think they look good, but I'm like surprised that I put these up.
Well, you can't change the privacy level.
Right. Yeah. And I'm comfortable, but I just always forget that this is up here.
Well, early on we talked about exhibitionism. It might be one of your fetishes. And so
it is. Yeah. I'm in a kink.com production.
Go you.
And I do enjoy, there is something about an audience I'm not against it.
Yeah.
And a whole nother venture for people in the like the cam girls and guys. That's people are making some big bucks with that. And
Hey, I like to look at the people in the background to see if I know them. Like, okay, I know them.
yeah, they come from everywhere. It's everyone's into erotic times. Some things I had marked as curious about. Receiving a girl who can get on top and fuck me hard. See, back then, it's been like years since I did this. I was looking for to be dominated.
Yeah.
There's anonymous encounters, which I kind of want to get rid of now. There's ass play. There's female
there's
ejaculation.
role play of anonymous encounters that you can do.
Yeah, that's
So
a
you
fun
can
idea.
specify that if you want.
Mhm.
You can make anything a fetish.
I have actually practiced role-playing anonymous encounters because the idea has always been hot, but the actuality for me has always been disappointing. And so I've had partners and I've done the whole gone to the bar to pick somebody up, and it's my partner, but we're fully role-playing. And, and because we've negotiated ahead of time, it becomes so incredibly hot because you don't have all the awkwardness of really being with a stranger, but you have the idea, you're stimulating your brain that this is a stranger. It can be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, look, I've been, I think, in a few months, I'll be hitting, I think, 14 or 15 years of being single. And at some point during this, I had come up with the idea that like maybe polyamory lifestyle is for me, and I can get laid, and I don't want to be too attached. This was a young me thinking this could work for me. And then
it's definitely not that easy.
I don't know what else. How am I going to get that to work? Like,
there's a lot of people who are just like, oh, polyamory. Oh, you mean polygamy? And you're like, no,
I don't want to get
two
married.
Different things. There's two different things.
Yeah.
One's religious. The other one, well, you can make it your religion, but it's not necessary.
The other misnomer is, oh, you're polyamorous, so you're easy.
Yeah.
Whoa.
No.
I am the most picky, selective motherfucker.
Right? I always tell them you're gonna have to jump through a lot of hoops to get to this.
Yeah, she has that, and I'll say I'm a slut. I'm a selective slut.
Yeah,
I tried to dabble in being a slut, and like that's where I was figuring out that a lot of this is unsatisfying. You can't just. It's not a numbers game. I don't think it's a numbers game. It's a quality assurance.
Over quality.
Yeah.
Quality over quantity. Sorry, let me.
They're very similar words.
So what's your next curiosity there, Twinkie?
What we have here is a lot of similar things. After female ejaculation. Oh, okay. But is
squirting
is.
It's a thing.
Good, because
you can do it.
I thought I was lied to. I've been told like, hey, I squirted. I'm like, are you fucking with me? Is this like...
Oh,
so I'm going to throw some statistics at you. So only 30% of all women that can squirt. So we're not talking all women. 30% of the women in this world that can squirt can only externally squirt. A lot of what you see in porn, it can be an actual squirter, but often it's urine.
Yeah. It seems like.
Yeah.
But also like, I feel like I can see a performer, but I've also seen footage of like, that looks different from.
Plus it's also how you're stimulated. Some people, if it's the G spot being hit, it's easy. You know, you'll see porn where it's a girl, typically a girl who has, she's rubbing her clit really, really intensely. And that will help. But she's also, it's like sometimes she can also be fucking herself internally. And then there are some people who can only squirt with anal play.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you hook like both, like in like a manner, sometimes that helps.
Yeah. Interesting. And this is kind of like this kind of stuff I feel like you can really only discover with someone you're really comfortable with, and you
Oh,
have the time to just,
absolutely.
we're naked and let's figure this out.
Yeah. And you have to get the comfort level of being able to talk and communicate with each other to like figure those kind of things out. I had a long-term partner who, so I'm what they call an internal squirter. So I can't projectile like you see a lot.
I had not. I thought being a squirter meant it's there, it's visible, and so there's squirting and it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought I was being lied to.
No. So with an internal squirter, it floods, but it's not like it doesn't like shoot out. So like I had an instance where, and this was a completely intellectual or mental arousal that created the squirting situation. I was with this dominant partner. I was the submissive, and we were doing a really deep, really intense throat fucking scene. And I literally thought that I'd peed on the floor. I was like, oh my God. But then I realized, oh, no, I just squirted on the floor. And because the way it came out, it wasn't projectile. It was like dripping.
So
that sounds weird, I know, but it was like an internal thing where my body flooded itself through orgasm and then dripped down. So squirting isn't something that's always about this like intense, visual thing. So if somebody's telling you they squirted, if they're super wet, they didn't lie to you.
Right. Yeah. There's like, okay, that makes me feel better. Because I'm like, why would you like lie, or like, I don't need to hear this to feel good, but like, cool, good.
Yeah.
In my experience, from what I've dealt with, and also from my interactions with other women, is you usually don't really lie that much about squirting because someone will want you to reciprocate or like redo it again. And if you can't and they're focusedly watching, then like you can be called out for that. Well, you did last time. Oh, that was just situational. And then they try to reenact it every time. And then it's just, stress, anxiety.
Performance issue there.
Hey, women can get it too.
Absolutely.
And could you explain that? How and why? And how can I help make it better?
Honestly, it's open communication and just being calm.
Yeah, because a woman can be worried that she's not, and it can manifest in many ways. It could be that she's just not getting wet, and it's not that she's not excited. It's just her brain is just like doing somersaults.
Wow.
Yeah, and so she literally has performance anxiety. Maybe she's really focused on wanting to get you off, and so she can't like relax enough.
It could be body tension as well. Mm-hmm. Sometimes if a woman's too tense, her Kegel muscles will also be tense. If you're trying to do anal, the
sphincter.
Thank you, sphincter. I was like, sphincter, that's not it. Sphincter will be tense. You can't relax enough. And then it just causes pain. And sometimes, because the woman is trying to be, I don't want to say accommodating, but she essentially wants this to go through for her partner, the person she's with at the time. She will put herself through these feelings, and it may be primarily bodily and some mental issues, but later on it can actually affect her emotionally, and she could be super emotional afterwards because in her head she's internalizing it. And so for her, if it was as bad as she's putting it in her mind, then she failed and it's her fault. And if she got hurt, it's because of her. It's not what he did, even though the partner, we're saying he as if it's just, a male dick. It could be a toy.
It could be a toy, yeah.
It could be a toy.
It could be a she or a they, them. It could be someone who's gender neutral. You know, it could be, it may not necessarily be a heteronormative situation, but women get performance anxiety just like men do. The difference is women have a hole.
Yeah.
So that hole doesn't have to, you know, become hard to have sex. But like, you know, like dryness, if a woman is dry when you're playing with her, it may have absolutely nothing to do with what you're doing, and it may have everything to do with her own performance anxiety.
Thank you. I've never heard this. But it could explain.
It's not talked about a lot.
But yeah. I think this would ease a lot of men's or anyone's who had to go through that, and no, it's not specifically you. It doesn't have to be. I had no idea that was a performance issue for you ladies.
Yeah,
Whoa.
it absolutely is.
I mean,
there is one cure for dryness, though, and there's one cure for anal sex. Lube. Everyone use lube.
Good lube. None of this cheap shit. There's different kinds of lube.
Not KY or anything like that. Get some hypoallergenic lube.
Wait, KY is not
It's like, how do I put this? Okay, it's like you go to Japan, right?
Okay.
And instead of getting ramen, you get cup noodle. Do you want cup of noodle if you're in Japan, or do you want ramen?
Yeah.
So do you want an actual like good lube, which you know won't like dry up right away, will actually, you know, won't like take forever to get off later, but is cohesive with your body?
No, Pixie, that's a fun analogy, but there's other reasons to get good lube, and part of that is anal and vaginal health. Hypoallergenic lube is gonna have the stuff in it that's good for your body, that's healthy for your body. You know, the big issue with cheap lubes and pharmacy and drugstore lubes is like glycerin. Glycerin has sugars in it, which can create yeast growth in the body. Yeah, and so, you know, it's really important, and it's not just a vaginal issue. Also, men can get yeast infections on their penis. Yeah. And so a lube that has glycerin, if either partner is susceptible to yeast growth, you know, that can cause an issue. You know, there's a bacterial vaginosis, which is sucks
ass in a negative way.
Yeah, I was like, wait, is that bad or not?
Well, it's just a condition in the vagina that happens to most women at least once in their life. And it's just it's in a imbalance in the flora in the vagina. It's nothing major. It can be treated with you know, I think it's antibiotics, but there is a prescription that you can get to be treated for bacterial vaginosis, and it's nothing major. But
no cheap
lube can cause those kind of situations for you. And so it's better to get high quality lube. You know, and silicone lube is great, but it's super, super slippery. I'm a water lube kind of girl. I prefer water-based lube kind.
Yeah, that's what I always hear about for suggestions.
Absolutely. And then there's hybrid lubes. There's a water silicone hybrid that can be really, really good. If you're using silicone toys, see, this is my lube speech. I'm a big fan of lube. If you're using silicone toys,
which we just had this speech the other day.
As you can tell, I give her the speech a lot.
Yeah.
But if you're using silicone toys, you're not supposed to really use silicone lube. I guess the silicone, I can't remember 100% on this, but the lady, when I bought my last vibrator, was telling me that the silicone lube breaks down the silicone toy. So, you know, silicone lube's more for like glass and metal toys and other plastic that's not silicone, you know, or fisting play or anal play, anything that you need a lot of like slide, slippity slide.
And if most people are wondering on like what's a good basic water hypoallergenic lube, Sliquid is really, really great for a lot of people.
Sliquid,
yeah.
Nice.
It sounds, I know, I have to like move my mouth and it's Sliquid. You can pick it up at almost any type of kink store if you're in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
Good vibes, feel more. That's still
I'm
COVID.
personally a pink girl. I like pink lube. The brand is pink.
Mm-hmm.
They're a high quality lube. You're going to spend a little bit more, like, I think it's like where a bottle of KY is like $7, a bottle of pink is going to be like 14. It is worth every penny.
And Sliquid's in the in-between at like 10, 12.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Suggestions out there for anyone trying to figure out what you want to get for holiday gifts for people. Check these out.
And
good
sometimes
quality lube.
quantity is not quality. So
Right.
sometimes that big pump of, jumbo, whatever,
Gallon, yeah.
that lube that you see in like those old movies like Eurotrip and stuff, they don't work for everyone. Just like Trojans aren't always going to be the go-to if someone is allergic to latex.
Yeah, you might be like, oh, I think Durex is also latex too, but
Durex does make a non-latex though. So
Okay.
they have their latex line and then they have a non-latex.
Skin.
So Skin, Lifestyle Skins, that's a really good non-latex.
It actually
Sorry,
looks
we're totally
really fancy.
sidetracking Twinkie show here with our talk
No,
about lube and
this is
condoms.
this is what we were here for. Toy play that's a curiosity here too, because I've never had a partner say like, here's toys I have and we can use them. I don't know if people are usually like self-conscious about that or maybe they didn't have toys for me to play with them. But
there's different types of toys, and then you also have to make sure, like if it's a sex toy, what's their cleaning process? Like what
because you can have a porous item and you need a I think like a dildo,
like a
I guess.
pumice stone?
No,
Oh my gosh,
but like
that would hurt. That would be torture.
what is?
I mean, if someone's into it, they're into it, but damn.
No kink shaming, Pixie. No kink shaming.
I know. I won't yuck their yum.
I think I've heard of women like putting a condom on their dildo or something. Just
Yes.
like it's cleaner. Like
Yes. Yeah. I when I do strap-on play, I use a condom unless I have a dedicated dildo that goes strictly for that partner and nobody else use it.
Right.
I will put a condom on my dildo when I'm using it with a partner if it's my everyday strap-on.
Yeah.
I have a Hitachi, and I put a condom on it, and that's mainly because of the material of the head. You're not supposed to wash it with soap and water.
Yeah.
So you have to. It's very gentle. It's a very gentle material because it's supposed to be for your skin, though. Lots of people like use it.
Now,
Foot or
fun
balls
fact
and stuff.
about a Hitachi with a condom on it is, the little tip on the condom that's
Oh my
supposed
gosh! Every
to
time.
collect all the fluids.
reservoir tip. Yeah.
Yeah, so when it's on a Hitachi, it does this little cute vibrating motion.
That's exactly what I was imagining when you said
Pixie
that.
loves the
Nose.
tip of her nose tickled with that.
Last time we did it, she tried to stack while that was going on. Stacked condom after. I mean, they were sealed condom after condom on top of the head to see how many I could hold while that was going at it before I dipped.
All sorts of fun goals you can throw in a scene.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
A scene can be anything. It doesn't have to involve sex. It can involve a Hitachi and condoms and have nothing to do with sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you really enjoy the pegging.
Yeah, I really enjoy the pegging. It doesn't happen very often. I have come a few times from pegging someone. Yeah, again, it goes back to that good old brain.
Yeah.
My brain is like, I'm in the moment with this, and
There's
yeah.
hands-free orgasm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Still haven't
totally.
experienced it yet, but I read that all the time here on FetLife. I also have in like curious about is like tantric sex. Is that something you guys practice?
I haven't, but I've had partners that have taken classes and explored it. Yeah, it's supposed to be just out of this world.
Yeah, I'm curious. And
yeah.
I've tried it with one of my most recent partners, and it was very intense. I'm very big on alignment, meditation, harmony, balance in yourself and everything. So my partner and I, to prepare us for this, we actually drank this sacral chakra tea that I have. And it was just so intense in the moment, and then afterwards, at one point, we were actually both crying at one point just because it felt like an out of body experience. So if anyone's like a candy kid type or a scener like that, E, when you years ago tried it once years ago, I just felt like I should clarify that.
Wait, is E MDMA or is that
Pixie.
different? Yeah.
Yeah. This one was called like a pink Oreo. So there's glitter in it. Like, I don't know why that's better.
Designer drug.
I'm so out of my element when you're talking about this stuff.
No worries.
Don't feel.
I don't recommend. I do not recommend mixing drugs when playing, because you have to trust the other person. That experience
It lowers your inhibitions and messes with your pain tolerance too. Sorry, Pix, go ahead.
So. No. It's good points. That feeling at that high where you're just kind of like floating, but everything almost looks like a kaleidoscope in your head. But in a good way, you're not freaking out all paranoid.
Okay. I enjoy a good trippy trip too. But yeah, okay, I don't think I'm looking for that in
The best way I can explain it, if you're laying on your bed, right, you're staring at the lights, don't they kind of like make you feel floaty after a while? Or wherever you are.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I've always been really, really curious and wanted to try tantric sex, but
there's classes on it and books. Go for it.
I'm not worried about like finding the knowledge and how to do it, but it's been not easy to find someone to say like, hey, there's this thing called tantric sex, and like I'd be interested in trying that. I haven't had a very open, like I said, I've been single for like almost 15 years, and most sexual experiences were like mostly like one night stands, and maybe the most repeat person or like people were like maybe like 3 or 4 times at most, and like so I don't feel like it's enough time to like build up to a level of like experimenting or being open like that.
Yeah.
Could you explain how a couple would execute tantric sex?
Stretch beforehand.
Yeah, it's very. I always just link it to yoga.
Yeah, I guess you could see it as such.
A spiritual.
It can be very spiritual, and
but there's specific physical things you do that characterize it as tantric, correct?
Yeah, it's a combination of. It's kind of like hyper focus on the other person, controlled breathing, being in each other's spaces, just very. There's just a flow, almost like when you breathe, the other person breathes out, you're breathing it in, and you're sharing. It's just.
This sounds great.
It feels like it's going like this almost.
And I feel like you can possibly have that kind of closeness and intimacy without even knowing you're having like tantric sex.
A lot of people see it as energy exchange, and that's actually a kink. It's just give and take of it, but you just have to be aware it is really intense, and you can be emotional afterwards.
I'm emotional after everything. I was crying after listening to like a song on the way home today, or like watching a movie where people are getting something really sad's happening to them.
Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, any Pixar.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Finding Nemo, forget about it.
Yeah. And so I sometimes it's too much energy to watch something sad. So sometimes I'm watching comedies and like just some part of it's sad and I'm like bawling at that. I've got some energy work I need to do then, I think. I've seen energy play listed as the thing. So yeah, that was a reminder of that. I had no idea what that would entail, but that makes sense that that could happen in tantric sex too. Things that I've listed, not curious about, but into is getting off on getting my partner off.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like I said earlier, I have all the time in the world to get off. Like I do that on my own. Like if I'm with someone, this is a chance to perform for someone on someone.
Mhm.
I can't figure out why you wouldn't want to do that instead of like I can jack off. I can do that. I can orgasm myself. I do not necessarily need this other person to do it, but I don't always get the chance to make someone orgasm. And I think that's why most of the time the focus does go to that other person, because it's not every day, or like, yeah.
I absolutely love watching a partner masturbate, on multiple levels. One, it's phenomenal to watch them getting off. And if they're an exhibitionist and they like being watched, I'm helping them, from that, because I'm giving them that audience that they need. The other thing is I learn so much about how a partner wants to touch themselves. And and everybody, even if it's just like a finger just slightly moved differently than your previous partner, everybody has their own unique way of exploring themselves and what drives them crazy and what drives them over the edge. Physiologically, we all have very similar erogenous zones in our body, but it affects each person differently, and it's just such an amazing thing. So
you just reminded me of the series Beautiful Agony, if you're familiar.
I'm not.
I'm kind of lightweight addicted to porn.
Don't worry.
It's a good series. It's a good series where mostly women, but there's men in it too. And it's just camera on their face and they're masturbating.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's me.
Yeah.
I love looking. I love hearing the sounds. I was actually, small tangent, listening to watching, but listening to someone jack themselves off. It was a guy jacking themselves off. And I had to stop actually because I was just so irritated with this person's bed sheets, because it was stripes and then plaids and then a really busy pattern. And I was just like, I can't watch this. He sounds great, but I can't watch it because I'm focused on, you should just choose one and go with it.
So many of my kinks have been an exploration in, getting off on getting my partner off.
Yeah.
It's I've explored much, because one of my very first officially kinky experiences, I think I was like 21 years old. And I dated a guy, and he was really embarrassed about this, but he's like, I've got a pantyhose fetish. And I was like, oh, does that mean you want me to wear pantyhose? Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, he's like, I like to wear pantyhose, and I would like you to wear pantyhose, and then we rub against each other. And my young 22-year-old brain was like, well, that's kind of weird, because when we're young, we don't understand these things. I was a little bit judgmental. It took me years to grow out of that, but at the time I was but I was like, it does sound interesting, and I will give it a try, because if it gets him off, then maybe it'll get me off. And I ended up exploring it with him, and I was like, oh my God, the sensation and the friction and the heat. I'm like, it's not my fetish. But if somebody comes to me and says they have a fetish like that, I'd be like, yeah, I'm so down to explore that again. Simply because it was something that was just so like eye-opening, and just the sensation of it. And it was so hard for him to be so open about it, being into something like that. I can't imagine how hard it is to get someone to tell them, and then to get them to think, I'll try it. Well, we're all sort of afraid that somebody's going to judge us the wrong way. Yeah. And, we were joking a few minutes ago about, don't kink shame, don't yuck somebody's yum. And it's literally just, we're raised we're raised to make judgments, which can be a good thing, you know, whether or not I put a toaster in the bathtub with me, you know, I need to know that that is a bad judgment call. But we also need to know that, like, we have to be open and not make judgment calls on, you know, things that people like, because until we've tried it, you know, even if we don't want to try it, we still shouldn't create shame in another human being. And so this was one of those things that, you know, in my brain, I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. But I was like, I want to see my partner get off. And I ended up finding something that was like really highly pleasurable, that if I hadn't overcome that mental judgment that I was having, I never would have explored that. So, you know, just, you know, doing things that get your partner off can really open your eyes to new things.
Great point. And the idea of watching someone masturbate shows you what they want, what they like, what they need.
Yeah.
Genius. I think some people are self-conscious about doing that in front of people, though. But in this day of coronavirus and COVID, and even now, like this week, I think we have got curfew tomorrow.
Yeah, we do. It starts tomorrow.
So what avenues, what do people have now? I assume there's no munches, there's no play parties, or
no, there's munches and play parties. They're doing them virtually. They're doing them, you know, with Zoom.
Yeah.
And this is an amazingly safe way to explore things. You know, because if you don't like what's going on or you feel uncomfortable, you just disconnect your connection.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Cyber sex is really fun. Like if you have
cyber sex is phenomenal.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've had like Zoom chats or FaceTime chats that were like way better than like real sex I've had. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I have lovers in Portland, and like with COVID, that's how we've interacted.
Yeah.
You know? We've had these conversations, and then they just evolve.
I wonder if there has been a big growth in like camming and all of that since in the last several months.
I think it's called OnlyFans.
Yeah, that's
apparently there. It's boomed.
And I feel like it's really good. It's great that these, I was gonna say women, but I feel like it doesn't have to be women on OnlyFans. People on OnlyFans are I've seen personal friends on my Facebook feed posting their link, like, hey, I'm doing this, and like that's great. You could be open about it and be like, and give me the money, like people are paying. it's a commodity. It's essential. It's essential.
My fetish is to be
sex and kink is always essential.
Yes. So as far as play parties, are there things if there are actual play parties going on in spaces, in public spaces or private, I kind of just assume you can't even say yes even if you are,
you know, I'm not aware of any going on. That doesn't mean there's stuff going on. I just the group of people and the play spaces and that sort of thing that I go to things that I know are really safe, safe spaces that are very safe. So the places that I would go to are all closed at the moment because of that safety feature. Are there play parties and play spaces going on? I would say probably. There are. You know, and to me personally, that would be a red flag. You know, I've seen people posting on, you know, the FetLife page that, you know, they're looking to play, or they're looking for an event or something like that. And I got to admit, as someone who's really cautious about, you know, not only her sexual health, but also her regular health, I kind of look at that person and I'm like, oh, I'm going to remember that, because that means that's definitely a red flag for me. It means they're not as concerned about their health, you know, during this playtime.
And I just have to point out, it's that for some people, they think only of, I'm not saying for all, I'm just saying that there are some people who are thinking, well, I haven't gotten anything, I've been safe. Well, that's great. What about that other person, or the other person that they've interacted with? So for me, if I see someone new, I need to know you know, what's going on, because
Contact tracing.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's going to affect me if I go and see Jim, if I spend time with her, it's not only going to affect her, it's going to affect her family. And her family has become my family. So I'm like super cautious, super protective. It's like, all right, well, I saw this person. You know what? I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to hold off from seeing you for at least a week or two, maybe 3, just to double check. And if I feel super afraid of it, because you know, whole civilizations died of smallpox from years ago. I'm going to go get tested because I want to make sure that, you know, everyone's being safe.
Yeah, and you brought up a point, I think, earlier, like people can have all the confidence in themselves, like, I've been safe, I don't go anywhere. But even so, like, it's not just you, it's other people, and a lot of people aren't thinking like that. And that is a risk in, like, before COVID, you know, STDs. You know, you still need to know about your partner and what they're up to if you want to feel safe, and feeling safe is like the turn on. It's
really, really important to like have those sex talks and share, you know, what your sexual history and your sexual background is, and get tested regularly.
And if you don't understand, there's just some things that doctors can only explain so far in the medical term. And in fact, some of their explanations and some of their terminology is skewed because it's so technical that they can't actually advise you to the degree that you're wanting, if that makes sense.
Like there's no, this is like unprecedented. There's nothing to teach them, like, to like handle, like, I don't know, every
let's say for example that you're going to see someone and they're like, oh, you know, they tell you afterwards, you know, I have HSV 1 or 2. So that's genital warts or herpes, which is, you know, can also be cold sores. And you go to your doctor and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm super afraid because this. They'll say, well, we could test you, but it hasn't showed, you don't have symptoms, so it's not going to be really relevant. And it's just kind of like well, what do I do then? I wait? And they're like, yeah, you just wait. And when you have something, then you come back. It's like, well, that's not really helping my fears.
Yeah.
There's no pamphlets for it. The only pamphlets you can find are like STD panels. What are they? What do you do with them?
Yeah. You know, we live in an age that, you know, we have access to the internet, and, you know, if a doctor's not explaining something right, we can go to the internet and get a more layman's term, you know, and have a better understanding. So we do live in an age that we can, you know, explore these things and educate ourselves better. Yeah. But, you know, condoms, and one thing that people don't realize is gloves. You know, use non-latex gloves for, you know, anal and vaginal penetration to, you know, protect yourself. Because, like, if you have a hangnail
or trim your, exactly.
Yeah, if you have some sort of cut or any sort of, you know,
easy cleanup, come on.
Oh yeah, that's
but if you have
bonus for sure.
Any sort of wound on your finger that you may not even know you have, just like, you know, a hangnail.
Yeah.
Dirt under your nails, because how many people use the nail brush and brush their nails?
Yeah, so it's a really good idea just to like brush up on your, you know, what safe sex practices are, and, you know, and what different things are that are out there that you can catch, and like how to avoid them.
Like, yeah, she mentioned condoms. There's internal condoms that you can, you can have. There's dental dams, you know.
Yeah.
The amount of precaution you can take is so vast, but most people only know external condoms.
Yeah, the mass. That
gesture.
Yikes. Yeah, safe sex is a turn on.
Safe sex is always important. Safe sex is a turn on, absolutely.
Every time I meet or find a new person who I think I would be interested in them, and like hopefully we can lead to some sexy times. Any new person, I will test myself, because I want to know that I'm not doing harm to anyone. And I don't know. I just hope that that's something that would feel reassuring. Like if a partner told me, like, I just had a test, and like that's a huge relief. I think just knowing that they care enough to test, and like they did it recently.
You can make that
Easy
a
to
part
do.
of your negotiation. You can talk about that.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
what's your sexual health history? Don't do it when you're aroused or anything. It just
Yeah.
leads down bad, like awkward path. But when it's appropriate, you know, hopefully beforehand, have that conversation. You know, it's showing that you not only respect your body, you respect them and their body.
We actually have Patrick. I just realized we have Patrick in the chat. Patrick was the my coworker that we went to the meat market with.
Yeah.
I bought him.
Oh, you did?
That was me and another person from the club. Yeah.
Okay. He's been chiming in. He mentions that he knows of OnlyFans, and he says safe sex is the best sex. Oh, he's saying all sorts of things. He said something about a stocking stuffer. Yeah, he probably thinks lube is a good choice too. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for being here. Could you tell us about what we can expect from the blog? There's two really good posts that if anyone's interested in reading about this and what to expect in the future, they're really good reads, and the link will be up for you guys later. But what else is going to happen with this? What are you gonna?
Our blog is a lot of what we're talking about right now. Is just talking about the nuts and bolts of kink, and and of kinky sex, and DS dynamics and that sort of thing, and how to explore it. And we'll probably toss in Pixie and I both write a little bit of erotica and a little bit of erotic poetry. We'll toss some of that in there. Our first blog posts are really about like the three that we have up right now is a welcome, and then we've each talked about what does kink mean to each of us as an individual, because we thought about what does kink mean to you, and then we started like spitballing, and we're like, it's actually very individual to each person, and so we're springboarding with that as a way to like show how individual and personal and encompassing kink can become in your life. Kink can literally be like, I just want to, have vanilla sex and I want my partner to spank me or pull my hair. It can be that simple. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just an extra wonderful thing to add. And so a lot of what we want to do is just help people to know that kink is okay, to have a place where people can learn about it, and know that there are kinky people out there that are willing to pass along their knowledge, but also their successes and failures.
That is so important to share. Just it's so reassuring when I read like other people's struggles. That's this podcast. It was called Growing Pains. Right now it's called Grappling with Thoughts, but it's really just, I think, like a mental health, like reflection. It's a chance for me to discuss and ask and look for guidance. And you guys have provided a lot of that for me. If you guys are ever interested in, whenever you write your erotic postings, have you ever listened to audiobook erotic?
No. Oh my gosh, you've just like blown me away. I didn't even know there was such a thing.
It's not ASMR. I'm talking about a whole different thing there. And I know I don't think I have the greatest voice, but if you're looking for someone to read it, thank you. I appreciate that. It's different, I think.
No, it's a good voice. I'm very voices and talking, like voice play is one of my things.
I could you can give me some headphones and the right track, and could be a huge kink or fetish for me too. Sounds like breathing or moaning, or like I was like about to start doing it, but like sound is very important to me. A quiet partner.
She's used to it. I do Siri in the car, GPS. Yeah. beep, right turn,
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, I have a Toyota pickup, and it has the text to text
Voice.
feature that you can press it and it talks to you. And so I have a small road rage problem.
Yeah.
Just a little one.
I battle mine too.
Yeah, right. It's
No,
in the Bay Area. It's bad.
Yeah.
And so to lighten the mood, Pix will text like my pickup is talking to me.
And
That's cool.
did I name your pickup?
You did name my pickup.
Yeah.
My pickup is the Hellhound. Yes.
Yeah. So I'll be like, Mommy, are we going to go eat that guy? Let's eat him. I need a soul. Nom, nom, nom. Except the audio, the text to audio will go, nom, nom, nom.
Yeah.
Like,
Monotone.
that's awkward.
Rather, but sound is so important to me. And
So important. Yeah.
even a woman taught me that I need to be more vocal or louder and like, you know, show I don't know, it shows appreciation. It shows like here's a sign that this is what I like. But it's also, it feels good to let it out. It's breathing. It's a and it's things feel way better when you're breathing properly, and making sound, it kind of helps you make sure you're breathing.
We had a regular at the Citadel when I was running it.
Yeah.
And he was quite a character, and he had these amazing intense scenes. But he was one of the few men that would come to the club that was very vocal. And when he would come, it was like, and you kind of laughed, and at the same time it was so hot because it was so unique, and I was literally like, when he would do it, I was like, oh yeah. I felt that one.
Yeah. An idea or a theory I was told is like, us guys usually we learn to orgasm while hiding in like a bedroom or in the bathroom, masturbating as kids. So we started our orgasm career by hiding it.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. I imagine females, when discovering masturbation, would also have to go through the same thing, right? Like if you want to hide it usually. So why are women or females usually more vocal?
Well, a lot of times is women, the ratio of women that masturbate to the ratio of men that masturbate is actually quite a bit smaller. And there's been studies that have said they think it's linked to the fact that when we're infants, we touch and explore our body. And there's a higher rate of a female baby being scolded, like their hand like lightly slapped or pushed away from their genitalia when they're in that infancy, and they're just, they're
we let boys do it.
So little boys, there tends to be that that heteronormative, oh, boys will be boys. He's just there's not as much of that shaming. There's some, but not as much of that shaming. And I think as the years have gone by, I think we're getting away from that. But so women who have a tendency to masturbate as adolescents and young adults have sort of broken through that shame, or they've been raised in an environment where it's not shamed. And so they tend to have a little more vocalization. Women who had to go through that shaming, they might be more vocal because they didn't have to go through that I have to be quiet while I'm touching myself sort of thing. So, yeah. Go ahead, Pix. No, go ahead.
I also think, like, a small part of me thinks that the reason that we can be so vocal with partners is because even when we're by ourselves and masturbating, even if you don't say words, you're panting. Your breath gets heavier. It's almost like an immersive moment for us, even more so than just our hand going at it or fingers going at it. Once you hear yourself, it's like triggering it's turning a switch on your brain. Like, oh yeah, like, wait, that's kind of hot. Okay. Let's imagine someone's here,
Mhm.
you know, like, yes. Okay. Oh, right there. Perfect. Obviously, that's
Imagination
not my voice I
masturbation.
say it, but exactly.
Yeah.
Imagination masturbation.
It's great. I guess not everyone has the best imagination, but you really can do whatever you want. You're
Yeah.
directing anything. And yes, the sound thing, it's or being vocalizing. I do it now because I know firsthand that there's a pun how much better it feels to like let the noises out. It's I don't know why, but it works.
And it turns on. It's a turn on.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and I'm an incredibly vocal person during sex and during play. But it took me a lot of years to get to that point. So a lot of it is just feeling confident and comfortable in yourself enough to be able to let go, you know? So I think sexual confidence is such a healthy and invaluable thing to have in your life. You know?
Yeah. And you should just people should just know, just because there's heavy moaning in porn doesn't mean it's the same for everyone, you know?
Yeah.
You don't have to be that degree. You just be your natural self.
To the porn, if it's to the degree where it's like porn, like I bet a lot of that in real life would annoy me. Like quit yelling. Like, what are you? I'm not even doing. This is not even the right timing. Like, you're just making this up. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, you know, if someone's going, oh, you're going, what?
Yeah. Wait, that's not the rhythm I'm going. What are you talking about?
Did I poke a different hole? Is that do you want to change? You know.
But something about that is like I feel like they're trying to please as well. That's good.
Yeah. Pleasing is a good thing.
Did we go everything on the list?
No, there was a bit more. Like I don't remember what I had said to you guys.
I'm creating bunny trails here.
So we got distracted by getting your partner off.
Yes.
Yeah. There's rimming here, but we had established that I am a fan of the butt play, but I haven't had rimming.
It's fun.
And so it's like, how do I find that from someone?
You have to communicate. You got to find that confidence in you to be able to say, you know, I'm really interested in this.
So say, now we're not even talking about sex now, but say like I'm dating around and I just find someone who I want to be a partner and I want to take things to a relationship level. Do I confirm first that they're into rimming, or chance it and just like bring it up into the relationship and hope? And if they don't want it, then that's just something I gotta like toss while in this relationship.
I'll give you an example of something that happened to me in my 20s.
Okay.
I 25.
Actually, this was during 18 to 25. So I met this guy who there was an intense chemistry and attraction between the two of us. And
okay. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm taking notes during like this whole thing, and there's things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like we're not going to cover this all today. I know it. No matter how long we go. Sorry to.
No, you're fine. So we spent about 6 months dating each other, and the sex was good, but it was really vanilla. And I actually was kinky. I'd been officially kinky, I think, for a year or two when I met him. He was apparently very kinky, and we, I think, spent about 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months in this relationship where we had nothing but vanilla sex. He was in the military and he got transferred, and we kept in contact. And a few years later, it came out he was overseas, and we were in I think like an AOL chat room or something, or a AOL PM box. And we were talking, and he mentioned that he wanted me to call him daddy and that he wanted to spank me. And I was like, oh my God, how long have you been into this? And he's like, well, probably for about 3 years before I met you. And I'm like, oh, why didn't you talk to me about it when we were together? I so wanted this.
Oh man, yeah.
Wait, is this who I think it is?
I have no idea. I have so many people in my past.
So it's like, don't just be quiet. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
geez.
It's so hard to be open and to talk to a partner because
Yeah.
everyone's afraid they're going to scare somebody off.
Yeah.
And my philosophy is if it scares somebody off, they're not the person that you needed in your life for the long term. You know,
Yeah.
because if let's say rimming is your biggest kink and you have to have it,
Uh-huh.
do you want to spend 5 years with somebody that
Not getting rimmed.
you never ever get that kink fulfilled?
Yeah.
You know, and then you finally work up the courage 5 years down the line and they're like, whoa, hard stop, our relationship is over. Then you've invested
Yeah.
5 years with somebody and you finally
Yeah.
let your freak flag out and they totally couldn't handle it. So
They wouldn't be the wind in your sails. Beneath your wings. That's it. Beneath your wings.
Okay. Well, I'm glad.
See how Pixie gets punished a lot?
But that's what you want, right?
Yeah. So like work on like if
necessarily.
this is what I tell everybody, if there's one thing that you can work on yourself is just being able to communicate your desires, do it in a calm, kind, respectful way.
Yeah.
No,
like we're doing this or I'm
yeah.
or yeah.
Or
Yeah.
somebody's giving you head and you're like, by the way, while you're down there.
And if you're nervous about like hygiene wise,
I bet that's got to be a huge concern.
I mean,
for
I know
sure.
for me and one of my current partners is that my other partner, because other, but my other partner is I find it highly erotic when we shower together, whether it's before or after or during, just being able to have that small moment of a mundane but intimate action is great. And I also know that they're clean.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh my gosh, is it?
What did they do today?
Rant, yeah, right. Small rant. If you're gonna go like, particularly on men who enjoy ball play, which fun. It's always nice to know for me that I'm not going to go down and smell the gym.
Yeah. I feel like you would be crazy to be in the remain but not take care of yourself down there. Like if you want it, like how are you? I don't know. I think that's probably a kink too, actually.
Again, like Jim said, don't yuck someone's knee on.
You're right. Sorry.
Have a fetish about natural smells.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think good
hygiene
is sort of something that we can practice. And if somebody has that kink, that's something that you guys can talk about during the, that and two people or three people, whoever's involved, can talk about whether or not that works for them. But good hygiene going into that first or second playtime is always a good idea.
The easy fetish I've got in the into section is nipples. I like that I have nipples, and I like that they can be played with if someone is so inclined. And people seem to nipples are just like a default. It seems like they're always involved. It seems like for me.
Yeah, I have a huge nipple fetish. Not only do I like mine played with, but like I love nipples. It doesn't matter if they're male nipples or they're female nipples. Nipples are just, there's something about them. Maybe it's the little girl in me. I'm like, ooh, knobs, I want to turn them.
They're there. They're available. They're easy to work with while you're doing other stuff. You can multitask and have nipple play.
Hey, some people can come from nipple play.
Yeah, I totally believe it. Other stuff I have, like I've got like the dirty talk listed there. That's fun.
Dirty talk is fun.
Yeah.
I've got cuddles.
Yeah.
Except that I know there's cuddle parties.
Be a fetish. Yeah.
But
that intimacy and that, the caressing and then just being together, not doing anything, but like holding each other is wonderful.
It's actually a professional job.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it listed. I've seen the
Yeah.
ads. Um,
Yeah, there's training to be it too. So
Training to be a professional cuddler.
they're called cuddlists.
Cuddlists. Okay.
I've looked it up.
yeah, I've looked into trying to find some cuddling too.
I looked up being the professional cuddler. I have a thing about hygiene though, so
yeah, and you just never in that kind of work you don't know who to expect and if they're safe or not. A bit. This is separate from nipple play. They have something called all day nipple play.
All day nipple play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be down with that.
widely different from all night nipple play.
Well, you gotta have that sunshine on your body.
Right.
Back to sound. Like ASMR has grown a lot. My introduction to ASMR was erotic ASMR.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's everywhere now. People have got their food, they're just touching things. And it's like I don't know, ASMR is like mainstream now, but anytime someone mentions it to me, I'm like, I equate it with like a sexualness, and most people who are talking about ASMR to me are not talking about that at all. And it's I don't know, it's weird. It makes me think the people who are listening to like the zippers or paper or whatever are sexually into it, but I think their answer is it's not sexual for them. It's just a response they get physically, but it's not necessarily erotic.
It fills the void.
What is the void of?
So think of if, like some people, if you're living alone, you know, you turn on your TV or you have music on in the background.
Oh yeah.
You may not be necessarily listening or watching to it. It's just noise to fill the emptiness of like an apartment. I have dogs, so I listen to their barking and their whimpering all the time.
Right. Silence can be
and
shitty.
especially in like COVID, sometimes it's not even to fill the silence. It's just to the best way I can say it is just letting their mind go. You know, you're listening to a constant sound. It's not a grating sound, or may not be, but it's something that they can just maybe fall asleep to, like
or that, or you know, it's a form of stimulus, and like you can kind of go crazy not having any stimulus.
What?
Like I think I need if I have something on, I do need noise on as well, but if it's something I've heard before, if it's a movie or something I've watched, I don't want it. Like, oh, I've heard this. I'll put the news on just because that is going to be new and unique every day. Or like sometimes I can't have songs on because I'm like, I don't want to hear this. I've listened to this. I want something new, and I want new sound, something just that's not a replay.
Yeah.
Jem, real quick, a few minutes ago you mentioned something, you said chemistry and attraction. You had like this chemistry and attraction with the dude, but it was all vanilla sex.
Yeah.
It's so true that you can have great chemistry. There's chemistry versus compatibility, and like all these things line up, but still sometimes there's like something that keeps you from like really connecting or matching up.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not
Absolutely.
sexual. Sometimes it's not even a sexual thing.
Yeah.
Have you had people who like everything except for their sexuality was attractive to you, but just like maybe them being too vanilla? Can people be too vanilla for you?
For
even
me?
though everything else, even though
for me or
else
for others?
I think they're saying in your opinion.
I mean, specifically for me, I have been kinky for so long now that I haven't had a vanilla partner in probably at least 7 or 8 years. And I think that's because I know what I need in the bedroom, or, you know, in the backseat of a car or in a forest, or
in a scene.
Yeah, in a scene. I know what I need in a scene. And so kink for me is, it's so deeply ingrained in who I am now. Can I enjoy vanilla sex? Yeah, absolutely. I've had kinky partners that sometimes, you know, we've had like, you know, vanilla sex, and it's been great. But for me, it just takes it to that next level. I'm, again, like we were talking about the demisexual and the asexual realm, and I'm something that I consider hypersexual. And so sex is super, super important to me. And I can have kink play that doesn't have intercourse. Like, so for me, sex is anything that's in like the kink and fetish and BDSM realm. And so, I'm so hypersexual that for me, my partner has to, I need partners. I shouldn't say my partner has to. I need partners who we can explore at least a, you know, a minor amount of some sort of kink. You know, yeah.
At least maybe open to the idea of it. If they're not against it, then that's good. I think one of you wrote in the blog that there's people who are out about their kink and it is their identity.
Yes.
There are people who they're only kinky or open about it in the bedroom, and then they have the middle grounders.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I'm middle grounder or more leaning towards kinky maybe. But so I know that there's some people out there who sex isn't that important to them in their life. Like they say they would be fine finding a partner, being in a relationship, and like they don't care maybe if the sex isn't that great, or like maybe whatever it is, like they don't put sex as a high on their priority list.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not sure how I feel about it. There's been people who have been like in love with who will say that sex isn't that important to them, and I'm not sure still like where I stand on that. Like, am I bad if I can't, if that's like a deal breaker for me?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, we all have things that are important priorities in our lives, you know, and I think if you handle it in a kind and respectful manner, you know, it literally like, you know, some people need financial security to be with a partner. Some people that doesn't matter to them. Yeah. Sex is the same way. Some people really need sex, or they need a certain amount of sex or kinky sex in a relationship. That doesn't make them a bad person. It just, they know what their priorities are. They know what they need in a partnership. And I don't think there's anything wrong with voicing that, particularly early on. You know, if you care about somebody, you know,
it's kind of got to be early on, right? Like, if you go too long, like you said earlier, you could go like 5 years or 7, and then like figuring out like something that makes you change your opinion on someone and like end things.
And I think that just goes to be, you know, like every person on the planet, whether they admit it or not, has a laundry list of things that they need from their partner. You know, things that it may only, and when I say laundry list, it may be like 3 things. You know, maybe they like absolutely need somebody who is romantic. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means that they need somebody that is very expressive with their love in a romantic fashion. And that's absolutely wonderful for that person. But for them to get hooked up with somebody like me, who's a little more aromantic, you know, that's not necessarily a good fit. Could that fit work? Maybe if you're polyamorous, that fit could work.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, can it work in a monogamous relationship? It sure could, but it's going to take a lot of therapy and a lot of hard work, a lot of self-reflection on both parts, and a lot of talking. But yeah, I think that we all have needs that are super important to us individually, and being able to match those up with a partner is really important. You know, outside of sex and kink, one of my major important needs is I need somebody in my life who's very emotionally healthy. you know, somebody who doesn't have a lot of toxicity going on, somebody that doesn't have a lot of drama going on.
Mhm.
And I used to think that was a bad thing. I used to think, oh, I'm judging people, you
Right.
know, but I learned I have fibromyalgia, and stress causes flare-ups, and it causes me to have severe pain that's not sexy.
You got the mental fog often as well with that?
Yes, the mental fog.
Your
I thought you said flog at
mental
first.
fog, yeah.
Mental flog.
That's where your mind is right now. And I also
Right?
know a major characteristic of fibromyalgia that it separates it from like other chronic pain is like your body pain is widespread. It's like
Yes.
everywhere. It's not just
Yeah.
one area or not.
So stress can be a horrible thing for that.
Yeah.
So for me, one of my biggest priorities in a partner is having somebody who is very emotionally stable and emotionally healthy. And that doesn't mean it's a bad thing that I have that need. You know, that's an actual need that I have to have for my life. And so when I get involved with somebody that has a lot of turmoil in their life,
Yeah.
I don't say, oh, you have a lot of turmoil, I have to bail. You know, I say, I don't know what's going on in your life. It seems that you're in a rocky patch, and I have to have, you know, a certain amount of stability because of my physical ailment. And so, you know, I'll tell them, you know, I want to take a step back, and you know, give you space to deal with your stuff, you know, and you know, maybe down the road we can come back together. You don't always have to shut a door.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And
it lagged out
sometimes they
there when
can
you said
come
that.
back to it, and sometimes they can't.
Jim?
And either
What was that?
yeah.
Like the last like 20, 30 seconds I had missed, and it's
Oh no.
yeah. Oh, I wish. Sorry, I'm not sure.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm basically just saying that it's okay to have these needs, and it's okay to express those needs.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally okay to express it in a healthy way. Like if you're a hypersexual person,
Yeah.
it doesn't make you an asshole to sit down with a partner who doesn't seem to be enjoying sex and say, I love you, care about you, whatever your terminology is for this person, and saying, I have a level of sexual need that I know down the road, if it can't be met in this relationship, or we can't be poly, it's going to cause problems for us, you know? So maybe we should get counseling, you know, have a healthy break where we can be friends. You know, you can express these needs in a really respectful, healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's really the best thing that you can do in a situation like that. And because if kink is your need, like if rimming, like going back to that if
Yeah.
rimming is your need and it's a deal breaker for you, there's nothing wrong with that. Just communicate it in a way that is respectful.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hope this is reassuring to anyone else listening. And just for anyone, I want to be clear that rimming is just in the curious about. It's not a deal breaker. I'm very interested.
I mean, what a lot of people also don't understand, like Jim has really good points. I mean, like we said at the beginning, we've been together for almost 4 years, 2 months shy. And I can honestly say, like, I've gone through a lot of self-reflection.
Okay. Good.
Particularly about my emotional state. And that's just for me personally, like my interactions with family and partners, and because I respect her, obviously. I really admire Jim, you know. She is someone that I do listen to. I listen to her opinion and her advice, and often I take it, like 95, 98% of the time. The other like 2 to 5 that I don't, I regret it at one point. I'll be like, damn it, I should have listened to her. But you know, it's something that she's helped me realize, that that is true. Like, I do need to have emotional stability, as well as I need to have someone who communicates.
Yeah.
Who calmly communicates.
Even better, yeah.
Because I've had a toxic relationship in the past where the communication and emotional landing that they were on was so skewed. I actually get panic attacks from certain phrases that they used to use. And it's a lot, you know.
Yeah, so I just, never feel shame over knowing what your needs are and expressing your needs.
Okay. One of you wrote in your blog post the 3 categories, like the bedroom kinkster, the kinkster that's out, and the middle grounder.
Yeah.
And so the way I took that is like a kinkster that is out means that their sexuality is like part of their identity, or like, I don't know if that's I don't mean it in an insulting way, but it's just like if you're introducing yourself, it's like, hi, this is me, this is what I do, and I'm into all of these sexual things. That's how I see that, as an out kinkster, and where it's part of their identity. I don't know if that's accurate.
Because kink can still be very taboo in most social circles. Not everybody who's out is fully like, I am kinky,
Okay.
I'm mostly out in most situations, but there are certain situations where I'm like, it's not appropriate to talk about here. So,
Sure,
but somebody who is out or somebody who I think of, I'm the one that wrote that. Somebody that I think of that is out is they go to munches, they go to dungeons, they go to kink events.
active in a community.
Very active in the community. They volunteer in their community, maybe they teach classes, maybe they host, they do things that their community, or kink community, is a big part of their life.
They're adding to it as well. They're an active participant, and they're not just experiencing it. They're, like you said, if they're teaching or something like that, they're cultivating and like progressing it. They're not just it's not in a vacuum. It's like
maybe the majority of their friends are kinky, that sort of thing. Where somebody who's more of a bedroom kinkster, it's more private for them. They don't want to talk about it. They don't necessarily want a bunch of other kinky people in their life. They just want it as something that they do with their partner or partners, quietly in their own time. And that's totally fine too,
Yeah, they can have so many different reasons for both sides, for wanting to be out or for wanting to be bedroom only.
Absolutely.
And so I think the way I looked at that is, I don't want my hypersexuality or my how much I like sex to like be my identity, or like, in the sense of like stereotypes, or like, I don't want to be known as just like a guy who plays music or gets stoned or likes this or that, because I just don't want to be grouped into something.
Yeah.
But also I guess I flipped that, and instead of saying like, I don't want that to be my identity, in the other way, I feel like I'm not living an identity that matches with my hypersexuality. Like most people, whoever's watching this will probably be learning a lot about me in this, because I'm not very open about this generally. Maybe it's a few close friends. And it's part of it's like fear, or like, I'm not sure how it'll be received. Or what people will think about me. So I've learned I'm going to be thinking about a lot of different things. And I'm sure we didn't even hit like everything that I'm concerned about, but we're hitting, we're close to 3 hours.
Oh, wow. That went by fast.
Yeah. There's things we didn't hit because we jump around.
Yeah.
But I feel like I could talk to you guys forever, and like, I hope you guys would be open to joining me again in the future if there's anything else you guys want to promote or
of
talk
course.
about.
Anytime.
Awesome. And like, I really, if you guys want a voice or voices to perform anything you guys write, let me know. We can see if we can work things out.
We might take you up on that. Careful what you offer.
Hey, okay, yeah. I like to collaborate, and like, this was an amazing time. Is there any yeah, I feel like we should wrap up soon. It's getting late, but I do want to give you guys a chance to let viewers know what else to expect in the future. There's the blog, and that address will be available.
Yeah.
Do you know what you are going to write about next, or anything else, and events, anything coming up?
I actually just talked to Wicked Grounds, which is
coffee shop.
a cafe in San Francisco.
On, I think, 6th and
8th and
sorry.
Folsom.
8th
That's
and
okay.
Folsom.
It's my home away from home.
That is where one of the very first fetish anything, kink anything that I went to. Very cool place.
It's an amazing place.
Across the street from there.
And since COVID started, they've launched their online classes. They do online Zoom classes.
Because that was one of the main meetup places for a lot of local munches.
Yes, it is. It was, and I think it will be in the future, as long as we can keep it afloat. I'm going to start in January. I'm going to start teaching a class with them every 4 to 6 weeks. I just made arrangements with them today. It's been something I've been working on for a while.
Very cool.
Yeah, and we Pix and I are working on a monthly munch that we're going to launch soon.
Is this a virtual munch?
Yeah, virtual munch. Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, and then just the blog.
So how do people find more details on the Wicked Grounds munch classes?
I believe I'd have to look it up on Instagram, but I believe it's just at Wicked Grounds.
They have a calendar, I believe,
on Instagram, and they have a calendar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Pix, do you know more about the Wicked Grounds?
Well, I mean, on their website, they have not only a shop, but they also have all the information for their events going on. I do know if you subscribe. Sorry, I talked too fast.
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
Yeah. Well, they'll email you the listing of what's going on per week.
That's right. Okay. They've got a Patreon account, don't they?
Mm-hmm. They do. They also have an Instagram, which we do too. We have an Instagram and
viewers, just look down towards the bottom of the screen. It's that one the multiple @s at Kinkification.
At Kinkification.
Kinkification.
Yeah.
On Twitter and Instagram.
Mm-hmm. On Twitter and Instagram. Yeah.
Is that the best way for people to keep up with like the latest news on what's going on with Kinkification?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna be posting, when we have anytime we have a blog post or we have a class that comes up. Pix teaches too. I don't know if you have any plans in the future to teach right now, but
I don't have anything up right now. I'm currently I'm actually in my professional life, I'm spearheading my company's LGBTQ plus employee resource group. Mm-hmm. So I've been focusing on making sure that is getting launched successfully and correctly, so that we have support from the company, which if anyone is dealing with that, it's like an uphill battle. So there's that. I haven't currently reached out to anyone just yet. But yeah, in the past, I've taught about service and submission. So.
All right. I'm sorry, Pixie. I actually didn't know that. I asked Jem last minute if he would join us, so I hadn't gotten any like of the socials on the screen like ready for you too. But just follow the blog, and I'm sure they can find all about you guys on that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, my Instagram is just the Peppy Pixie.
Okay. Yeah. No weird underscores or spaces or symbols.
No, all lowercase. The Peppy Pixie.
That's how you know you're unique, when you don't have to add numbers to your name.
I would have liked to have it without the. Someone else had. I think I did that one by mistake.
Okay.
And my personal Instagram is at @gem_win. I always confuse underscores and hyphens.
Yeah.
At @gem_win on Instagram, and you know, I cross post things from there, and you know, if people have questions, feel free to reach out. You know, as long as it's a respectful kink question, I'll happily answer it.
You find one of us, you find the other one.
Yeah. And yeah, you guys keep that in mind. Just because this is kink and fet life things and sex, like, don't come in being a bozo. Just, you know, it's like any other thing. Like what Miss Jem said, show some respect.
Right?
Respect will open so many doors for you.
Respect is such a sexy thing.
I like to
sexy.
say, if you have a dick, you don't have to be a dick.
Yeah. Why double up on that?
Right?
I mean, that works the other way too. If you have a twat, you don't need to be a twat.
Yeah.
No, I feel like if you have a twat, you don't need to be a cunt.
There we go. I was wondering who was gonna say cunt. There, yeah. Perfect.
There you go.
Ding, ding, ding. Pixie got it.
Perfect way to
Yes.
end this episode. Thank you guys. This was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys join me again sometime. Yeah.
Oh, anytime. It was our
I'd love
pleasure.
to.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we didn't have enough time on this, but we gotta go. I need to go you know, go
Bio?
to the restroom and yeah.
Yeah.
nature's
Bio break?
calling.
You gotta go read some literotica.
Again, thank you guys. So I can't thank you guys enough.
Most welcome.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to see more of the blog. You guys check out all the things on the screen, and I'll post more on SwinkyTube Twitter. Thanks again, guys.
All right, thanks.
Have a good night. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.